Chapter 59:13. It's also to blame that the original pattern was too small. No way at that time. I was thinking of raising my strength to the top. Now that I sink my heart, I realize that the best way is always the one pointed out by the teacher. Fortunately, his life force can also be used to transform all things. He could condense the origin of everything in front of him. Then the restoration becomes complete immediately. The missing rules can be added by yourself. With his current strength and realm, have mastered the universe. It can all be said to be of the creation level. Make rules and create everything. The chess pieces of the size of the font. Eventually the source goes to all things. The handsome chess pieces correspond to the ultimate of all things. Life is only one. This is what I saw in the Palace of Life. But it affects a lifetime. He already has the power of life. The power of death can be obtained by slaughtering life. He didn't think about reincarnation. The original space of oneself has been completed. Now it is time to practice. The future time and space can be regarded as having a framework. Reincarnation in time and space. If in accordance with Weiss said, both life and death are small gods, then reincarnation is considered a second-level god. The third level is time and space reincarnation. What about the time and space cycle? Maybe I think too much. He shook his head. Extinction wants to devour the power of life, just for reincarnation. It is laying out the future. So grand. He is now the master of the universe in the six tribulations realm. Even the cycle of time and space has not been looked down upon. It's a bit arrogant. In fact, the road can be walked one by one. But before you reach the end, be prepared to turn in that direction. Plan ahead. He has done this kind of thing in the past. It's all up to you. Now there is the great Weiss. I should also ask for advice. The clone is looking for Horatium. His origin is to enter the manor of Weiss leisurely. The manor, which occupies a huge area, covers 1/10 of Tianqing Mountain. The facilities have not been properly organized. Weiss was having a great time playing. The spring of the spiritual spring that was fetched was turned into a well. The spring column became the fountain in the center of the manor. It is also extremely luxurious. He looked a little envious. This is also his original universe, but his master hasn't arranged anything. There is only one dilapidated wind-riding pavilion, which is much worse than that of Weiss Manor. Although he can be transformed directly, there is no spirituality in that way. Some pyrotechnic gas is lacking. He walked towards a lake where Wes often stayed, and saw Wes shaking the cat there. The purple-skinned cat is pitiful and thin. The first life in the universe was turned into a cat by Weiss. Jian Wushuang was also a little dumbfounded. Valley Master Weiss. When he came to the lake, he was not polite. He found a place and sat down. After saying hello, he watched where Weiss was teasing the cat. Not in a hurry at all. The cat appeared in his universe, but he couldn't feel the breath of the cat. It's really strange. You didn't enter the Wanlu universe. Why do you still have time to come here? Weiss said casually while teasing the cat. Let's talk about anything. I am in a good mood now. And maybe I will tell you something very mysterious. This cat. Jian Wushuang did not go straight to the subject, but asked about the cat. He really didn't understand why Weiss had to make the first life in his original universe a cat. He is not a cat. He is the of destruction in the future. Wes picked up the purple skinny cat, put it in his hand, and then said, You have to pay attention to your own words. He is very vengeful. God of destruction? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. What kind of is that? God of destruction. He had heard of it for the first time. A cat becomes a god. It's not reliable how to listen. Even if Wes has the means to change the supreme rule, he can't make a cat into a at will. Now I told you that you don't understand. But there is one thing I can tell you. The person who destroyed God would be you. But I see your performance is getting worse and worse, and... The last sentence reached his lips, and Wes swallowed it back and said calmly, I can only say that you will have a better position. Could it be that I will really become in the future? For a while, he forgot his purpose when he came, and he was very curious about his future. This is also inevitable. Everyone is curious about their future. Otherwise, how could there be so many fortune tellers in the ordinary? Speaking of which, Huiking's Zen machine can predict the future. He is the darling of time, and the best practitioner of time and space. If there is a chance in the future, Huiqing has to make calculations for him. Don't think about this, let's talk about your business. Weiss knew he was coming, so he didn't say much. This time Jian Wushuang went straight to the subject and expressed his entanglement. After hearing this, Weiss covered his mouth and smiled. You don't think much. You should actually think about the starry sky above your own universe, so that your thoughts will be even bigger. Really, he suddenly became excited. I knew that I must be the chosen one. How could it be bad? But then Wes poured a basin of cold water down. You really dare to think that there are indeed hierarchical divisions between gods, but this kind of division is fixed. If you want to become a stronger god, you need to improve as much as possible when you are mundane. And there is a pit for a carrot. The position you selected may not be empty, or don't be too greedy. After speaking, Weiss shook his head and said an example he saw. It is the creator of this ancient moon time and space. Which goddess? She used to walk a long way. The pattern is huge, but in the end it failed. Looking at the entire Guyu time and space, Jian Wushuang could find that there were many strange things. For example, the Wanlu Shenmu of Gumu continent. This is obviously a level of existence with the goddess. The goddess was able to leave this willow tree. There is also the secret realm of Wuhua. The things that exist there are also very special. It is a force of nothingness, obviously similar to Wanlia's side. These powers are all within reach of the goddess. If it is blessing in one fell swoop, how can the power of mastery be average? One level higher than reincarnation. At the beginning, this goddess had a lot of power, and the ultimate goal to break through is virtual life, which is to copy another virtual starry sky with the starry sky as the center. Jian Wushuang's eyes rounded when he heard it. This is a lot higher than what time and space reincarnation he is considering now. If it is to create a starry sky by yourself, he has the courage, but confidence is hard to say. But the goddess dared to replicate the same starry sky in the original starry sky. Chapter 59:14. This is a bit exaggerated. To put it bluntly, it means picking peaches. If there is a master in this starry sky, would he forgive her? No wonder it will fall. Since you have a lot of courage, you want to fight. Go the way of the goddess. I will collect the corpse for you at that time. Jian Wushuang shook his head solemnly and said firmly, I don't want to go the way of others. I just want to go my own way. I didn't expect that the pattern of the goddess would be so big, and it would be a pity to fall. How can it be so easy to copy the starry sky and have the same two people and two similar flowers? Weiss shook his head slightly. There was still some regret in his eyes. The two flowers he is talking about here are actually two worlds. One flower, one world. People represent even more. This made him think of Jiangshang again. Tianwen and Jiangshang are inextricably linked. This is a scourge to him. It's a pity to die. Otherwise, he will die in the opponent's hands sooner or later. The ladder of becoming in Wanlu now, as well as the origin of life force, Dan Bao has mastered it. It also means that the goddess is over, and there is no possibility of turning over. This example gave him a severe blow. In the past, he himself didn't believe in breaking the 10,000 laws with one force and stepping on the words of the gods. Now that I have finished listening, I don't believe it anymore. His pressure is actually not that much. In fact, it's good to be the master of time and space. He could endure time and space without traveling to the future. In terms of the current North time and space, the three eternal existences at this level are equally invincible. God can't control it. Unless it's your own death, just like a goddess. As long as you don't die, you won't die. The one before him died. Kill the life and it's over. There is no pressure. Later, I found teacher Xuani, and the master and disciple recognized each other. Perfect. It's just that the teacher has been investing in him, and there must be something that needs his help. He didn't want to disappoint. I don't want to regret it again at that time. That's why I give myself those pressures. Looking back, it seems he still thinks more. The origin on your chessboard is enough for you to die. Anyway, it is not you who die in the end. As for your own origin, don't make too many adjustments. You are far from reaching the limit under the rules. After the 9 tribulations realm, it's not too late to make plans. Weiss finally reminded him. Use the Guantian chessboard to simulate the original force that you need to merge in the future. At least one chance of failure. Jian Wushuang gave a respectful bow, then turned his head and left, back down the mountain, thinking about his future. First of all, it is time and space reincarnation. He first merged the origin of the chess pieces on the Guantian chessboard into a time and space cycle. Go ahead and make other plans. This is very difficult for him. The rest is just like Weiss said, and he'll talk about it later. Now is not the time for him to think about it. Can't follow in the footsteps of the goddess. The temperament of the font size is merged into the origin of all things, forming the power of all things. Later it will be transformed into the force of life. From everything to life. It needs to be integrated into one source. The chess pieces that happen to be handsome in size have their origins. This is a bit of a coincidence. Jian Wushuang's mind sank, and he immediately woke up, and his heart shook. Could it be that it was the instruction of teacher Xian Yi? I am afraid that Weiss knew teacher Xian Yi, but he just didn't admit it. He can guess like that. It can also be treated as if nothing happened. Even Weiss has to conceal and use obscure things to order him. Perhaps it is for greater hiding. He was a little relaxed, but he instantly felt a surge of pressure. Still have to fight hard. How else can I meet the teacher? He didn't want the day when his master and disciple met each other. It would be a world-destroying scene. A little bit of time passed. In a blink of an eye, he has been here for a month. There are indeed a lot of Heritium. He found thousands of Dharma bodies. On the side of the deity, a new source of life has been integrated on the chessboard. Click. The moment the chess piece of life fell into the Guantian chessboard, it instantly turned into a green armor. On the chest of the battle armor, there is a circle on which the letter G is written robbery. Replaced the original general armor. I thought there would be a handsome and godly armor in the follow-up. Unexpectedly Jiejia appeared. He couldn't wait to summon Jiejia, and instantly his upper body, an increased vitality force burst out. Let his vitality increase 100 times. Not only, after putting on Jiejia, his divine power has also increased by a full 500,000. Directly reached 2 million. The increase is not the basic divine power. But he discovered that after wearing Jia armor, he can also perform super-eternal changes. In other words, the super-eternal change he is currently performing can soar to 4 million in supernatural power. It is already a conventional 8 tribulation realm combat power. This made him more interested in merging the origins of chess pieces. Now it is the Jiejia dominated by the life force. If there is another force of death condensed, the two merge to become the power of reincarnation. The increase is the stronger power of reincarnation. This is the third sword of his star catalog, which will have greater blessings. Divine power blessing is only basic. The most important thing is the blessing of the source. This is more important to him. The role of Guantian chessboard was finally explored by him. It's a pity that he doesn't know much about the power of death. Otherwise his sword of reincarnation would not pull his hips so much, and would never be able to display its true power. It also needs him to find a breakthrough from extinction. In a blink of an eye, Daixing was originally staring at him, but now he is staring at Daixing. Take your time. Now he is not in a hurry. The Dharmakaya returned and gathered to the deity. Dan Bao had already notified him, and everyone had collected Heritium. He was left alone. 6,000 can be exchanged for 2,000 fruits of life. It's just that now his needs for the fruits of life are not so obvious, because he can't recover the pawns so early. Those chess pieces need to help him simulate his original end point. If he succeeds, he will recover, and everyone is happy. If it fails, that's it. He also needs to find other ways out. Of course, failing this kind of thing is thankless. He will definitely control the loss. Seeing that the situation is not right, he will stop, disrupt the order of the origin, and then recover. It's not a waste. He always felt that the 3 chess pieces with the size of God would be the origin of God. I don't know if the guess is right. If it is real, then he has to be more careful. If you lose one, you have to feel distressed. Step forward, shuttle. Soon he came to the steel. We said hello to Dan Bao and the others, and stepped forward to hand over the ditch head mushroom. I saw a lot of people with a lonely look on their faces. He knew that these people probably already knew that there were rewards. Chapter 59:15. In fact, fortunately, there is no fruit of life, and it will not affect the road to resurrection in the future. It's just a bit slower. In order not to make these people jealous or resent Dan Bao, he deliberately threw a mustard seed toward the steel. Although these people had suspected that he had been out for so long, they must have searched a lot of Horitium. But no one dared to stand up and say anything. All these people present could tell that Dan Bao and Bulu both believed in Jian Wushuang more. It's more reliable than any guardian. They don't dare to take Jian Wushuang. After entering the steel, he got the fruit of life. It also means that the task is complete. After obtaining the Horitium arenaceus, it cannot be exchanged for the fruit of life. Wow, he is the last person. As he finished, the steel began to tremble and let out a hum. Everyone was shocked. With the steel as the center, the radius changed suddenly. In the next moment, everyone travels through time and space. Left here. After they left, another group of people came here. It is Bobby D and others. It was one step behind Jian Wushuang and others. When Jian Wushuang and others appeared again, they had already reached a quiet mountain forest. Looking up, the faint light beam descended, and the upper part was blocked by some giant trees. Great monk, do you know this place? King Shenmu jumped and stood on the leaves of the top of the giant tree, scanning the surrounding situation. He was not familiar with the place at all, so he naturally looked at the super strong man, who came out of the willow. Shenmu. Old monk. I don't know, we should have entered a special secret realm. It must have been arranged by Lord Realm King. As long as we follow the instructions, we are right. The monk shook his head and explained. The Lord of Hengmu didn't buy it and mocked. Then you have to give us a reminder. You can't stay the same as last time. Just wander around. Why don't we go and take a look on the mountain ahead? Dan Bao said at the moment, and the others were not talking. In fact, there are so many ways. Since there is a mountain ahead, go up and take a look. It's better than arguing here. For the sake of safety, Dan Bao used the shield of life to cover everyone and move forward carefully. Although I haven't encountered any danger, I can't be careless. In the previous space they heard a howl. Although they could not feel the specific breath, the divine power contained in that howl was extremely terrifying. It's definitely the 8 Tribulations realm level. This place is Wanlius universe, and it is normal for any level of powerhouse to appear. They still have to be careful. Jian Wushuang's thought power has been patrolling the surroundings. No abnormalities have been found. I feel that the structure of this place is deeper than that of the space just now. The power here is also extremely special. These giant trees are proof. The divine power contained in each of them has exceeded 1,000 times. At its peak, there is 1,000 supernatural powers. The life structure of the race is much higher than that of the human race. Don't look at them now that their supernatural powers are all starting with 1,000,000. But if it goes on average, certainly not as good as these giant trees. The universe, the origin of life, and the vegetation that it bred are so powerful. If it is material life, it will definitely be stronger. The mundane of the human race have less than one divine power. Only after embarking on the practice will you slowly accumulate divine power. They are all the pinnacles of the human race, and naturally look very powerful. In fact, the true origin is not as good as these plants and plants. Of course, except for those special beings at the cosmic level. Jian Wushuang is actually a special life. It's just that he is special, incomparable to the special beings of the universe. Just like Qishui back then, the opponent was born with 10,000 divine powers. How to compare? He is an acquired special life. If calculated according to him, everyone is an acquired special life as long as their divine power exceeds 1,000 times. Let's talk about these special lives now. The Flame of Shurgua, top of the 8 Tribulations realm. It's on the same level as Zui Yehui. Divine power started with a few million, and when he was born, it might have exceeded 100,000. There is also the Lord of Hengmu, and the Great Monk. The basic divine power is terrible. The pinnacle race group bred by the entire Wanlu universe, as well as the pinnacle powerhouse, must surpass the entire Gumo continent. There are few in the 9 heavens and 10 places that can be compared. The Great Monk and the 2 war beasts that only appeared. It's enough for Gumo continent to drink a pot. I really want to run out all. The 8-star sects of the 19th National Congress of the Communist Party of China could be suppressed if they were all out. Although there are threats, there are also opportunities. If you can go in and out at will, then the life here will face the strong in the entire Guyu time and space. In such a comparison, Guyu time and space was stronger. After all, which goddess created it? 9 heavens and 10s. The waves are magnificent. Trying to replicate the existence of the starry sky. How could it be bad? Leaving the jungle that shades the sky, they arrived at the bottom of the low-foot mountain. The peaks are not steep, and the side peaks do not enter the clouds. Can't see anything special. But when they stepped down the mountain, they felt the power of their bodies beating. There is a feeling that I really want to practice and retreat. Everyone is eager to try. Want to set foot on this low-foot mountain. Jian Wushuang is no exception, although he majored in origin. But the divine power has not fallen, and it is almost the same as the original source. The whole boat is one. 5 million supernatural powers are all active. The beast soldiers even aroused the local resonance. A long Ming sound erupted from all around him, shaking waves of ripples. Jian Wushuang frowned, and the beast soldier trembled, suppressed by a stronger innate beast god. Innate treasures of the universe, although rare. But here gathered the strongest group of existences in ancient Wood continent. Many of them are also treasures of the innate universe. For example, the Moyanting of the Shinmu King. And Wu Li. He also has the treasure of the innate universe. It's the wooden sword. It was the Lord of Hengmu who gave it to him. Now I feel the same resonance, followed by a strong coercion. Brother Wushuang, did you find it too? Wu Li cautiously leaned over at this time and whispered, "There will be no horror on this mountain, right? My wooden sword is a branch of Wanlu, and it is also congenital. Treasure of the universe. I have never encountered such a thing before." Jian Wushuang shook his head and replied vaguely, "I don't know, but since it can be related to Xiantian, then this mountain must have a great treasure, and it will be clear when I go up and take a look." This low-foot mountain, not only does it give them the impulse to retreat, but it can also resonate with the treasure of the innate universe. Has aroused their curiosity. It makes no sense not to go in and take a look. What a treasure. Then it's up to you. It also depends on luck. Whoever gets it belongs to him. As long as it is not too outrageous, it can be kept. With Danbao, they also made their own vows. No one will turn his face. Chapter 59:16. Everyone has equal chances of encountering treasures, but they have different strengths. There is still a big difference, so no one will let anyone else. After feeling the call, everyone looked at Dan Bao. Now they just need a word to rush in. Jian Wushuang was not so eager. After feeling the strength of the surroundings, he nodded at Dan Bao when he found that there was no danger. Indicates that there should be no danger here. It's better to take a look. There is no way anyway, and I have to go sooner or later. Simply let these people take the initiative to find the way. Of course, how can such a thing be said? They must take the initiative. Otherwise, it will defile the of life. Dan Bao was helpless. He was just a child, and he was taken into this position. Can only nod. But before these people went up the mountain, they gave everyone a lot of vitality. This has moved many people. Jian Wushuang was also very surprised and did this step. He really admired it, and it was impossible for him to do this. Maybe this is the gap. Go. Shenmu took the lead and charged. He has Mo Yin Tung, which is equivalent to an additional 8 Tribulations realm combat power. It's just that Mo Yin Tung's combat power is not as good as his deity. There are at most 8 Tribulation realm peaks. But this is enough to explore. Mo Yin Tung extended to explore the road. By the way, look for treasures in the direction of that summoning. Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate, and followed his forehead. The same goes for the others. Only the Great Monk and the Lord of Hengmu brought the 2 war beasts, and followed Dan Bao behind the last hall. Shinmu King and Jian Wushuang, as well as a large number of 7 Tribulation Realm powerhouses, were separated from Dan Bao's life shield. Even Wu Li rushed to the front, side by side with Jian Wushuang. Brother Wushuang, that feeling is very strange. Why don't we join hands? My 3-foot sword has been leading me. How about the treasures we get? Jian Wushuang smiled at the corner of his mouth, but he had a guess in his heart. Although his beast soldier was summoned, the feeling was not what Wu Li said. Able to guide. That's so much resonance. Okay, wait for a chance to escape from the Shinmu King and the others. But you have to tell which of your fathers to let them pay attention to us and come to rescue if there is danger. Cooperating with Wu Li, how could he suffer? What is Wu Li's identity and strength now? The divine power is also the top of the 7 Tribulations realm. In danger, he still has to carry it. Fortunately, there is a backer, which Cheap Daddy, but in the presence the strongest existence. Able to crush Shinmu Wang. Even if there is something horrible hidden here, the 2 of them will be able to save them, if they encounter them unfortunately. This transaction is worth doing. It's all here, so what if you don't try to fight it? Moreover, Weiss had previously explained that he wanted to find some treasures. Maybe you can find it here. In the crevice of the mountain on the west side. Wu Li suddenly transmitted sound. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate. His figure disappeared out of thin air after a meal. He even took Wu Li and left the team directly. Entered into a crevice in a mountain. The Shinmu King at the front was stunned for a moment and wanted to chase after him. Jian Wushuang was special, he knew it. Maybe you will discover something in advance. Moreover, the treasure of the innate universe on Jian Wushuang's body was a bit greedy. Uncertainty will cause the call to find the exact location. But then I thought about it. I was a peak powerhouse of the 8 Tribulations realm, and went to follow the 2-6 Tribulations realm, and he couldn't hold back his face. And it's still a bit far from the top of the mountain. It's better to go to the top of the mountain first. Dan Bao and the Great Monk could be followed behind. Can't waste time. After weighing the pros and cons, King Shinmu gritted his teeth and manipulated Mo Yin tongue to continue climbing towards the top of the mountain. Along the way, it is not that he did not receive the goods. He has all the treasures that have grown in the crevices of the mountain for an unknown number of times. Just a single herbal medicine. It is $1 million mixed stone. This money is too comfortable. It's the same as the one picked up. He is no longer the Lord of the universe. But it does not mean that there will be no universe after his resurrection. Either the Hunyuan stone, or these herbs can enhance his divine power. The others did the same. All got some treasures that the Shinmu King looked down upon. Hunyuan stone with a value of around 100,000 yuan. This is already very good for them. You can pick it up at your fingertips without having to fight and kill. It's a star refiner, and has no interest in herbal medicine. He collected a lot of expensive gemstones, and even after he didn't grab them, he bought those gemstones on the spot. Many people also sold it on the spot. In general, the various receipts are quite good. Dan Bao, who was in the back, didn't care. Dan Bao is almost becoming the of life, so naturally he is not interested in treasures. The same is true for Bulu, who is of the same clan as Dan Bao. Will he have fewer treasures in the future? As for the status of the Great Monk, the protector, but to protect Dan Bao, he would naturally not leave Dan Bao for half a step. And he is a special being, the pinnacle of the 8 Tribulations realm. There is no shortage of these treasures. In the end, the Lord of Hongmu is left. He seemed to have suffered heavy losses this time, and took the initiative to give away his treasure. But there are also large receipts. 2 big beasts, all enslaved by him. Each is the top combat power of the 8 Tribulations realm. How could he admire those treasures? There are treasures, and they have to be used after he resurrects. At present it is not good enough. The Great Monk also received Wu Li's voice transmission at this time, frowned, and did not say anything, but felt that Wu Li and Jian Wushuang were mixed together, which was very bad. A trace of thought power followed Jian Wushuang and Wu Li into the crack. The gap at the main point of Audiobook is actually not a big one, but deep enough. The key is to go down to the ground. It will be able to enter the true core of Audiobook. Jian Wushuang took Wu Li into the ground. It was dark all around. The cracks opened from halfway up the mountain, but there were no cracks on the top, and there was pitch black all around. After entering the crack, turning around and turning around, you have long lost sight of the light at the entrance. Isn't there yet? After Jian Wushuang went deep for a while, he felt a palpitation and a bad feeling after he felt the bottom. So he slowed down and wanted to ask Wu Li how. Wu Li directly took out his 3-foot sword at this time. He didn't know until not long ago that the raw material of this 3-foot sword came from the sacred wood of Wanlu. So it is also an innate treasure of the universe. The whole body is green, 3 feet long, but it is enough to cut the sky and the ground. Still down. Are you sure? How come I feel that the more I get down, the more desperate my heart is? And there is always an inexplicable pressure. He expressed his anxiety, and if he went deeper he felt his heart jumped out. The feeling that made him want to practice again is gone here. Instead it scared him. After Wu Li heard what he said, his eyes were surprised, and he was taken aback for a moment and said, "But I didn't feel it." Chapter 59:17. As soon as he said this, Jian Wushuang felt that things were not as good as he thought. Perhaps the call below is for Wu Li. It has nothing to do with him, so we must get rid of him. Only this is possible. If he continues like this, he might be forced out. But now that he has reached this place, he can only bite the bullet and go down. Forget it, keep going. Break the jar. I didn't believe it. Why is it that he is the one who is unlucky every time? Follow the crack and continue down. A white light burst out of him. Light up the road ahead. The cracks under the mountain are very wet, and the bottom of the water flows along the stone walls. The stone walls are also covered with moss. The further down, the larger the gap space. Behind Wu Lidian, he walked in the forefront. The feeling of heart palpitations went from pressure to oppression. A lot of sweat came out on his forehead, but Wu Li was like an okay person, following behind, his eyes rolling around, looking around, for fear of encountering danger. Continued to walk for a quarter of an hour. The people outside are almost at the top of the mountain. They finally found something. The gap is not downward but smoothly forward. After walking for a while there is still an upward trend. The 3-foot sword in Wu Li's hand hummed. This means that you are very close to the target. Bright. Jian Wushuang, who was walking in front, saw light in front of him after turning the corner. Looking back at Wu Li, the two nodded. Without hesitation, the speed directly accelerated, rushing towards the light source. It was only discovered after the two of them reached the light source. It turned out to be an exit. Call. Walked out of the damp gap, under the light. The two of them saw everything in front of them clearly. A huge sky garden, suspended above the water. Everything is arranged in order. There is no mess. Definitely built by man. Jian Wushuang is sure of this. Seeing this sky garden, Jian Wushuang didn't feel that kind of palpitations. But the water below has a sense of oppression. It is not waiting for him to look at the surface of the water. Wu Li flew out uncontrollably toward the sky garden, but he was standing there without any feeling. Wu Li, who was flying in the air, could see the face of this place clearly. Looking back, it was the Low-Foot Mountain. They walked from the gap to this place, which is equivalent to transcending this Low-Foot Mountain. This place is behind the Xiaojia Mountain, a huge valley, surrounded by mountains. There is a huge lake in the middle. There is a sky garden on the upper part of the lake. Jian Wushuang took the initiative to fly out at this time, and he wanted to keep up with Wu Li and discovered all this. The breath of the rest is on the top of the mountain now, and it will take some time to get here. They are equivalent to taking a shortcut. It can be regarded as a gain, and it is ahead of others. But it also has disadvantages. In case there is danger here, he can't hold it. Brother Wushuang, I'll go in first. Wu Li looked back at Jian Wushuang, and then took the initiative to enter the hanging garden, where he felt the source of the call. You wait for me. Jian Wushuang was anxious, his wings shook, and he wanted to keep up. But when he entered the sky garden, he bumped his head on the barrier. I found myself unable to get in. The enchantment is green and has a strong vitality. He does not believe in evil. One wants to use the power of life to try to crack it. However, I still couldn't get in. Damn it. Seeing Wuli enter, he can't. If Wuli swallowed the treasure privately, it would be a big loss. He really couldn't understand why Wuli could get in. But he couldn't get in. If it has something to do with the treasure of the innate universe, he should also go in. But the life force disappeared after passing through the barrier. There is no way to shuttle at all. At this moment, a huge bubble appeared on the lake below. Jian Wushuang was taken aback. The figure lifted off quickly. That sense of oppression is getting closer. In the blink of an eye, a huge beast with countless eyes appeared on the surface of the lake, and it rushed directly out of the water. There are countless eyes and countless tentacles. The body is surrounded by many green vines. It is very similar to the Moyanting of the Shinmu King. He was taken aback by the sudden emergence of everyone, and hurried to avoid the attacks of those tentacles. The breath suddenly changed, turning blue. There are also more green armors on his body. The divine power went from 1.5 million to 2 million in an instant. After performing super eternal thickening, his divine power directly increased to 4 million. Facing the shop below, he raised his hand and drew his sword, and slashed out directly. His current combat power is comparable to the 8 Tribulations realm. Blocking is still no problem. Those tentacles were not as powerful as he imagined, but the number of swords cut off the number of heals. But the sense of oppression is still so strong. This made Jian Wushuang very surprised. I always felt that there was a greater threat, and I didn't dare to fall in love with it. I asked my tentacles to quickly rush towards the direction of Xiaojia Mountain. At this moment, King Shinmu had already stayed with Dan Bao and others, and reached the top of the mountain. On the top of the mountain, there is this huge steel castle in the sky. The stone monument was opened by Dan Bao. The 4 characters of the upper division is very simple. Suffered from the last uneducated loss. According to the text on the stone tablet last time, they have been able to deduce it. Each has learned the language of the Palunga people. Dambao's is no longer needed. It seems to be the floating city under the mountain. Everyone came to the edge of the cliff together and looked down. Saw the sky garden that Jian Wushuang mistakenly thought. It is actually a city in the sky. I'll take the lead this time. Seeing the city of the sky, the Lord of Hengmu showed joy in his eyes, and took the initiative to step forward. The face of the great monk remained unchanged. He comes from Wanlu universe, and is most familiar with this place. Unfamiliar elsewhere, but he has heard of the legend here. In other words, he has understood the rumors of the Sky City. In the Wanlu universe, there is a legend. According to legend, in a certain secret realm of Wanlu universe, there is a city in the sky. It used to be the residence of a big man. Any arbitrary decoration inside can be infinitely beneficial, which also contains the treasure of a big man. Even inheritance. This big man has an inextricable relationship with Wanlius origin. The Lord of Hengmu is a local, he must have heard of it. Dared to take the initiative. Of course, he went down with the 2 big beasts. He was naturally confident with 2 top beasts in the 8 Tribulations realm. The great monk also knew what was happening here, and had already told Dan Bao secretly. It's just that Dan Bao is not interested in this. If you go along, you can go in and take a look. Just forget it if you don't go along. Opportunity is also threatening. He doesn't need to take risks. What's more, with so many people. Chapter 59:18. But the great monk was very persistent this time, and kept persuading Dan Bao that it was best to go in. This may be related to which Lord Realm King. As they walked along, someone must have arranged everything secretly. Otherwise, why would it appear here? Instead of directly entering the world of God in the Wanlu universe. Dan Bao couldn't help it, and seeing the rest of the people all had golden light in their eyes. He who doesn't know how to refuse, can only nod his head. Take the lead by the Lord of Hengmu. King Shinmu didn't understand this place, but seeing Hengmu get on, he also went over. Although the great monk is very interested in this place, he can distinguish the priority and still stand by Dan Bao's side. By the way, where's Jian Wushuang? Lian Xing, who hadn't followed at this time, looked around and didn't find Jian Wushuang. He was surprised. He wouldn't be lost, right? Maybe it's in. The great monk added aside. He already felt Wu Li's breath and entered the Sky City. That's why it is so calm. There are treasures in the sky, but it's not that easy to get it. This legend has spread widely, from the 8 tribulations realm to the mortals. But no one has found it. The great monk thought that this place was just a legend. I didn't expect to see it here today. That also shows that his guess is true. The path they took was arranged in advance by Lord Jiawang. Only after passing these tests can you enter the heavens, and then go to the stairs of ascension to the universe. The first stone monument is just looking for Horitium. It's not that difficult. He didn't know what the intention was. But this place is different. Probably just to enter the city of the sky. There are absolutely very secret things. A scorching light appeared in his eyes. At this moment, a powerful breath broke out below the valley. Let's go. Dan Bao's figure flashed, and he directly led everyone to follow. There was a strong breath. The foremost lord of Constant Wood had already seen the threat below. Jian Wushuang. The first thing I saw was Jian Wushuang, who was running away. Then countless vines came. Jian Wushuang also saw Hengmu's heart's joy, and quickly said, Hengmu, help me block him. Before Hengmu could answer, he flashed his figure, and passed by the lord of Hengmu, and ran away without looking at each other. The lord of Hengmu yelled. The vine had already arrived, and he had to stop. Fortunately, the vines with strong breath have a lot less power. As the native powerhouse of Wanlu, Lord Hengmu didn't know anything about the vines. After resisting for a while, I found that there was not much threat. Let the 2 war beasts go to clear the way. Continue to fly down by himself. Jian Wushuang had already seen the Shenmu King and Dan Bao and others at this time. So he didn't panic, standing there waiting for everyone to come. How about below? Dan Bao brought everyone here, and looked at Jian Wushuang. There are some small waves, but there is not much threat. Jian Wushuang shook his head and continued with a sigh of relief. Wu Li, I have entered the Sky Garden, but when I wanted to enter, I was stopped. When they heard this sentence, everyone was taken aback. Wu Li went in, but Jian Wushuang couldn't. Many strong people don't know much about Wu Li. Most of them are paying attention to Jian Wushuang. Unexpectedly, Jian Wushuang was stopped, and Wu Li entered the Sky City alone. You didn't even go in. The great monk was also extremely surprised. He thought Jian Wushuang had gone in with Wu Li, but now Jian Wushuang was outside, and Wu Li went in. This is indeed beyond his expectation. Since it's not too dangerous, let's go down and take a look. The scepter in Dan Bao's hand was shaken, and the shield was solidified again. Directly rushed down. The huge barren beast that rushed out of the water was comparable to the 2 war beasts. Indeed, as Jian Wushuang said, there was not much danger. The great monk, or Shenmu King alone can deal with it. If you want to kill, everyone will shoot together. I'm afraid it won't take a few breaths to solve it. This is... The great monk looked deep. The Lord of Eternal Wood did not recognize this vine. But he knew. The monk looked surprised. Jian Wushuang asked, Why, although this vine is not powerful, it is extremely weird. The oppressive feeling is too strong. It's almost inefficient. Can't underestimate it. If the great monk knew the identity of the other party, that would be best. Hearing Jian Wushuang's question, the great monk did not conceal it. He just looked at Dan Bao, and then said, Little Lord, if I didn't guess wrong, this should be the old ghost Chiding, a man who used to be in God, the peak 8 tribulations realm powerhouse, but he fell into a madness to find the Sky City, and later disappeared. He did not expect to appear here. After Dan Bao heard this, the scepter moved, trying to suppress Akatsuki with his life force. If it is a practitioner who has fallen into a madness, then there is no need to besiege, just drive away. Yu reading www.akanshu.com. But the origin of his life, after touching the chiding ghost, had no effect. This left many people in a daze. At the beginning, Dan Bao was able to suppress Qi Jiuxiao for a short time with his life force. Behind Qi Jiuxiao completely escaped from his life, and was not suppressed by Dan Bao. How could an ancient cultivator, who hadn't touched the peak of the 8 tribulations realm, now be able to block Dan Bao's suppression? Jian Wushuang's eyes flickered. And he always felt that the sense of oppression was getting stronger and stronger. There is something bad going to happen. It seems right now. Dan Bao couldn't suppress it. He hurriedly said to the Shenmu King and the great monk, "Since we can't suppress it, it's better to kill him together. It's a curse. Dan Bao is the of life. This kind of thing is not easy to do. Then leave it to them." Shenmu King and the great monk also had this plan a long time ago. Hearing Jian Wushuang's initiative, he immediately nodded in agreement and deliberately avoided Dan Bao and rushed straight down. Dan Bao frowned. "It is not because you become the of life that you will become the virgin. Actually, there is no need to do this." But with the support of everyone, he was protected too well. Be champion to become a god. On the road to becoming a god, even no blood was allowed to touch him. When I saw the great monk for the first time, I felt that what the other party said still had some truth. But now it seems that something is wrong. Jian Wushuang didn't think so much. He patted Dan Bao on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry. Since he is not suppressed by you, it proves that he has been out of life long ago. And it has nothing to do with us if he died. Don't have too much pressure." Bru also came to persuade him at this time. Dan Bao shook his head without speaking. Chapter 59-19. Senior Xing Lian, don't you go to join in the fun? Jian Wushuang also relaxed at this time and looked at Xing Lian. The opponent's combat power is the pinnacle of the Seven Tribulations realm, more than 2 million divine powers. And there is also a powerful puppet army. I haven't seen the opponent make a move. He leaned forward curiously. Lianxing smiled and replied, "With my strength I won't be ashamed, but you surpass me in the blink of an eye." Just now Jian Wushuang broke out. That divine power was indeed beyond a group of 7 Tribulation realm powerhouses. "Luck." Jian Wushuang touched his nose and replied softly. Everyone also smiled indifferently. Just when they are relaxing, the lake below shook. "This time I will bring that city in the sky." Everyone looked at it together. I am not worried about the battle below, but I am afraid that it will affect the city of the sky. Jian Wushuang also learned about the Sky City from Lianxing. It's just that he can't figure it out. Why is it called the City of the Sky? Why not the Sky Garden? It's because the strong men of Wanlu universe are uneducated. So what nice names come out? At the next moment, he understood why it was called the city behind the sky. Below the battle on the lake, the chiding ghost's figure continued to expand, and the lush vines on the Sky City are shrinking. The vines kept retreating, constantly gathered to Qi Tingui's body. Qi Ting Ghost's strength also began to explode at this moment. From the original 9 million divine power, it broke through 10 million divine power in an instant. Has been comparable to the Shenmu King. This is still just beginning. As the vines of the Sky City continue to decrease, Qi Ting Ghost's divine power is also increasing. After seeing this, the monk understood thoroughly. Old Ghost chiding, "I thought you were really crazy, but I didn't expect to find the city in the sky and try to absorb the miracle. You are really it." The great monk said aura, no longer hesitating, and wanted to fight quickly. Quick decision. How can it be so easy? Keep cutting off those vines. However, more vines appeared to hinder his attack, and he couldn't get close at all. The same goes for Shenmu King. The two war beasts are now no longer rivals, and the Lord of Hongmu has returned to Dan Bao's back early. Dan Bao looked at the danger below, and couldn't control so much, so he voluntarily came and covered the Shenmu King and the great monk with the shield of life. "Don't be in love with him. Let's enter the Sky City." After the vine disappeared, Dan Bao discovered that the Sky City had changed, and he could enter it at will. Everyone nodded in unison. Qi Ting Ghost has improved too fast. Now the divine power has increased to 15 million. The Shenmu King and the great monk could not suppress it by joining forces. Wait a while. Even if Qi Jiuxiao came, it was useless. The Qi Bobby Emperor has already followed with Qi Jiuxiao. Just above the top of the mountain, they wasted a long time here. At that time, Emperor Bobby had Qi Jiuxiao, so Qi Jiuxiao broke through obstacles all the way and walked much faster than them. "Go!" Dan Bao did not hesitate. As soon as the scepter moved, he let everyone into the City of Sky. Qi Tingue lost his goal. and after a while in the same place, countless vines didn't know where to go. Finally, a weird cry was made, and the vines in the depths went to encroach on the city of the sky again. Dan Bao and others have already arrived at the head of the city. After arriving in this sky city, they found out there is a law of shrinking the ground. Looks not much, but after arriving in this city, he found that the city was huge, the size of a world. What to do? Shinmu Wang was also a little panicked. Can't beat, can't escape. Now that they have entered the sky city, they all know that this is a treasure place. But what about this huge threat? I can't watch it. Without the entanglement of Chiding Ghost, the sky city would be white. But with the entanglement of Tung Ghost, this place is just like Jian Wushuang said. It is a sky garden. Dan Bao still couldn't stop the spread of those vines with the shield of life. For a time, there was no way. Everyone could only take advantage of the Shitangui's own deity to cut down those vines on their own initiative. But this speed is too slow. Just when they are at a loss, there was an earth-shattering sound erupted from the outside world. A black fist shadow, left in the space forever. Even portrayed on the timeline. Everyone looked up in horror. A burly giant in red is holding the Chiding Ghost with his heavy palms. And he clenches his fist with the other hand, constantly bombarding the Chiding Ghost's deity. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but swallow. This is too exaggerated. Even if the Chiding Ghost once again weakens the deity's divine power, it will attach itself to the city of the sky. But the current Chiding Ghost still retains at least more than 10 million supernatural powers. It turned out to be like an innocent grass in front of Qi Jiuxiao. Was beaten. If it weren't for the loud fighting, they wouldn't have noticed it. Dan Bao, can your shield of life cover the entire sky city? Jian Wushuang looked at Dan Bao, and he had an idea in his heart. Haven't waited for him to speak. Dan Bao understood. Can. But to be outside. Inside the sky city. This place is a world. Dan Bao's current life origin is not enough to protect such a large place. But in the outside world, there is a law of shrinking the ground. The inside is the world, and the outside is at best comparable to a hill. Dan Bao would naturally be able to protect them with the shield of life. Only in this way, Dan Bao could not enter the sky city. After Jian Wushuang heard this, he lowered his head. In his opinion, this method would not work. They went in and allowed Dan Bao to block the danger from the outside world. What was going on? Don't say whether Dan Bao was willing or not. They themselves didn't agree to Dan Bao's doing this. After all, they are all counting on Dan Bao to become A and take them off. This place is so big, even if the Emperor Bobby comes in, it won't be easy to find us. And the little Lord's life shield can block the giant gods. There is nothing to be afraid of. Let's explore together. The great monk is calmer, because news of Wu Li keeps coming. It is all good news. Going down now is to pick up treasures. Why bother with these here? When the others heard it, their eyes lit up and thought this was a way. Dan Bao did not look at everyone, but at the black shadows in the sky. No, you can't let them in. Dan Bao shook his head. The appearance of the sky city is really a test. Defeat Chitengui. If they can't do it, forget it. Now that he lost the threat of Tung Ghost, there was another Qi Jiuxiao. Then even less let Qi Jiuxiao come in. They come here. Many people ran for treasures. Even the great monk is the same, very curious about this place. Only Dan Bao grasped the essence. Come here perhaps to protect the city of the sky. Protect this miracle. Chapter 59:20. They'll go to the outside world to block them. You go to explore the situation in the city. As soon as this remark came out, everyone was shocked. Let Dan Bao go outside to bear it, and they will go for the benefits. This is not so good. And it's not justified. What are they here for? Certainly not because of these ordinary treasures, but for the road to resurrection. Dan Bao, as the of life, is the pioneer of the road to resurrection. Let Dan Bao go against it. Not to mention whether they have a face or not. Just shameless, I dare not do this. The great monk was the first to refute. King Shimu also stepped forward to persuade. The others were also very moved. Only Jian Wushuang did not speak. Bru also felt that this was not necessary at this time. It's better to let Bobby D come in. They can rely on Danbao's life shield to resist. Danbao smiled indifferently and comforted. Let them in. I also need to use the life shield. It can be used everywhere. It is better to be outside. I agree. Jian Wushuang stood up, turned to everyone and said, I think Danbao is right. Anyway, we must use the shield of life to protect us. It is better to use the shield of life to protect the entire Sky City from the outside world. More important than our Sky City. This last sentence is a bit cruel. It also calmed these people down. Keeping the city in the sky is more important than them. What if this is the test? Danbao, I'll go out with you. Bulu nodded, choosing to support Danbao. It's useless for the rest to go out. Although Bru's strength is not very good, he is of the same clan as Danbao. Two people are one mind. When the great monk saw this, an imperceptible light flashed under his eyes, and he also stood up. Okay, that's it. Danbao saw that there were others who were going to take the initiative to go out, so he interrupted those people's movements. Only the great monk and Bulu left the city wall. King Shinmu looked at the back of the three of them and sighed. No loss is the of life, he can become a god I admire. Shinmu King, let's go down and explore the Sky City first. Maybe there is something to do here, and Danbao will be able to come back soon. Seeing that the other party was talking endlessly, Jian Wushuang hurriedly reminded everyone that he still had to enter the Sky City for the current affairs. No more time wasting this. Everyone nodded. Upon seeing this, King Shinmu began to arrange people to scatter and search. After all, he is the founder of the Guma school, with natural leadership skills. Allocate people to cover an area with their thoughts. Explore the entire Sky City in the fastest time. Friends of Star Refining Taoist, you go to the Southeast City area and explore with Wushuang brother. No problem. Jian Wushuang smiled similarly to Lianxing, and then left directly. King Shinmu also knew that he was familiar with Lianxing and deliberately separated the two of them together. The speed of the two was extremely fast, and they reached the corner of the Southeast City in just a stick of incense. But this place is already very big. It takes an hour for the two to search. It's not enough to let them fly around. Instead, search every corner carefully. Friend Wushuang searched separately. Jian Wushuang nodded and said, Okay. The two are separated. Each turned into a meteor and entered the city. The moment he fell to the ground, Jian Wushuang felt the incomparable feeling. Divine power is beating. Whoever was here at the beginning was definitely a supernatural power. Just living here can make this place an invaluable place for practice. He looked at the texture of the city, and there was nothing special. It is entirely because of the aura left by which existence that affected this city and the sky. Wow. Walking on the empty street at will, a breeze blew the dead leaves on the white stone floor, like the mundane world in the depths. Those dead leaves should have been left by chiding ghost. The power he absorbed was the breath left by which existence at the beginning. No wonder it is so powerful. If you take all the vines back to the deity, I am afraid that Qi Jiuxiao will not be weak. It's a pity that before the vine was recovered, the deity was severely injured by Qi Jiuxiao's violent beating. I'm afraid they are all about to fall now. Carefully searched everywhere along the street. Too slow. He still felt a little slow. Countless avatars were split up and flew around from a small courtyard. The deity walks leisurely on the empty street. Enter any mansion at will and search around. There are actually quite a few movable things here. For example, some tables, chairs, and lamps. Even the door can be removed and taken away. But this is a bit blasphemy. Kindness. One of his clones went to a yard somewhere and found that the yard was clean, without a door. The windows have been taken away. Some people really dare to do this. Thought power spread. He immediately discovered a familiar breath. Near here, he and Lianxing are the only ones. Star refining is not going to be done like this. Then only the Wuli, who came in early. Huh. Body shape flashed. Yu reading www. Akanshu. Calm after feeling the breath, his deity teleported directly in front of Wuli. Jian Wushuang. Wuli was taken aback when he saw someone approaching. And then he was relieved when he saw that it was Jian Wushuang, and complained. Can you please say hello in advance to scare me? Seeing that the other party was still holding a stool in his hand, Jian Wushuang frowned and said, "Almost there. There is indeed a breath of existence on the objects here. But there is no need to open the door. This is what you don't understand. If you simply absorb it, you will have to spend several days on this stool to absorb the breath above. How can we wait now? Why don't we take them all and go out? Slowly absorb." Wu Li stepped forward, took off a set of calligraphy and painting, and directly stuffed it to Jian Wushuang, comforting. "Don't think too much. Although we are all worthy, we have to plan for the future. You and I have almost the same magical powers. The basic divine power is more than 1 million. You know how troublesome it will be to increase the divine power in the future. Not to mention the treasure spent, the time wasted on it is huge. Not only do you need to buy these things, there are many divine powers that can be promoted. Just absorb this calligraphy and painting. At least 100 divine powers can be improved. You can find hundreds of the same in any yard here. That is 10,000 divine powers. How many are you in such a big sky city? Dare to think about it?" Snapped. Frowning Jian Wushuang, he threw the calligraphy and painting directly. "Hey!" Wu Li regarded it as a treasure, and quickly picked it up, trying to persuade, but was directly interrupted by Jian Wushuang. "Just take your own, don't worry about me. I'm not looking for these here." After he finished speaking, his figure disappeared in a flash. Wu Li was right. It's right to plan for the future. Chapter 59:21. Once the robbery is resurrected, when the time comes, the price of the treasure that enhances the divine power will be doubled. Those who are still improving their divine powers are the lords of the universe. Not to mention cultivation, Sanjia is to maintain one's own peak, and it takes effort. Even living it became a luxury. After resurrection, to practice again to increase the divine power, you need treasures. I'm afraid that other robbers like Wu Li are all searching for these things. He is the only one who doesn't care. Perhaps there are also a few noble ones. Like star refining, I'm afraid I don't like these. The King Shenmu is even more despised. He is in charge of the entire Gumu sect, so he will miss this thing. But this time, he rarely started personnel affairs. He has always felt that this city in the sky is not simple. Don't lose the watermelon and pick up sesame seeds. Moreover, he didn't attach much importance to the improvement of basic divine power. Improve the basic supernatural power. A little bit of improvement is too slow. It's better to perfect the super eternal change. Create a perfect super eternal change as soon as possible. 100-fold increase in combat power at a time. Now only a 50-fold increase can double his divine power. If it reaches 100 times, with a supernatural power of 1.5 million, it can be doubled. What is that concept? 1.5 million, 3 million, 6 million. The key is that he still has a life robbery, which can increase by 500,000. In this way, the perfect super eternal change has 8 million supernatural powers. Directly let him 6 tribulations realm, comparable to the top of the 8 tribulations realm. Coupled with the original swordsmanship, he can almost break the wrist with the peak powerhouse of the 8 tribulations realm. That's why I look down on these gadgets. Flying to continue searching. The southeast area was quickly searched. There is nothing special. Lianxing will make peace with him at this time. After seeing each other, the two looked at each other, and both shook their heads. Go to the center of the city. I saw the layout of the Sky City. In such remote places, there may have been ordinary people who once lived. There is nothing special about them, but the breath of a big man remains on it. Only then will it become precious. And the cheating ghost who attracted you will have to absorb it. Lianxing has studied these things in depth. Naturally, they understand more than Jian Wushuang. The architecture here is not single in style, and it represents the residence of different people. Which big person, the place where he lives, will certainly not be here. Jian Wushuang, aren't you curious about who the great figure is? Lianxing looked at Jian Wushuang with interest at this time. They have been searching for specialties, but they don't have too much guessing about which big person. At this time Lianxing mentioned this matter. Jian Wushuang frowned and looked at Lianxing. Knowing that the other party must have guessed something, he asked, "What did the senior find?" "In fact, it's not a discovery, but I found that in some relatively large courtyards, there are a lot of portraits hanging in the guest hall. This is not special. Even the portraits hanging in each guest hall are not the same, but there are still some overlaps. One of the most overlapping portraits is something special." After he finished speaking, he took out several portraits as soon as he raised his hand. The top points are all the same. Green skin, sharp ears, and white hair on the top of the head are extremely rare. Only the middle is thicker, and the ears wear earrings. Jian Wushuang has never seen a group of this kind. This portrait is hung in every house. Could it be some important person in the Wanlu universe? Lianxing nodded and said, "It is also possible. But who is the place where a great figure practices cultivation? Do you think the people living here are the same as the natives of Wanlu universe?" This remark silenced Jian Wushuang. "That's true. Those strong in the Wanlu universe, almost no one can find this place. So Qi Teng ghost arrived here. If the people who once lived here were from the Wanlu universe, then this place should have been discovered long ago. With the secret level of the city in the sky now, he didn't believe that those people here would be the natives of Wanlu universe. It is very likely that someone brought it by himself. This makes sense. Go and meet Shin Muang and others, and see if they find anything." Lianxing also nodded in agreement. The two of them flickered before disappearing into the same place. He ignored Wu Li, who was still searching for treasures below. In fact, there are not a few people who do the same thing as Wu Li. It's just that they are not as greedy as Wu Li. Now the biggest goal of those who disperse the powerhouse is to resurrect. Wu Li was originally the Lord of the Universe, and he was not very interested in resurrection and the position of a demigod. The increase of one's own divine power is the biggest demand. From the 3 tribulations realm quickly reached the 6 tribulations realm. Once this feeling of rapid improvement stops, it will drive people crazy. It is like a poor man who has accumulated wealth for decades to buy a yard. Later, because of a chance, he instantly bought a city, and then he was discovered to be the heir of the dynasty. The gap will be great. Once you have enough wealth, it will inspire greater greed. Jian Wushuang knew this well, but it was hard to remind him. In fact, the master of the universe like Wu Li, what Calm should do most is to keep a low profile. His father is the pinnacle of the 8 tribulations realm. In the future, he became the protector of the of life. As long as Wu Li held his thigh, how could he lack these treasures? The pattern is still small. After passing through the area where Wu Li was located, he did not stop, but followed the star refinement and headed towards the main city. The core of the Sky City is a huge square. In the square, there is nothing like it. There are only a few pillars to the sky. The whole is like a hole, carved from white boulders. Which person's breath is the strongest here? Shitinggui's vines cannot spread here. At this time, those who rushed here first were practicing cross-legged. With the vitality, they can also rely on the vitality to slowly increase their divine power. Although it is a little bit small, you can feel the feeling of cultivation in advance. After all, many Sanjis have not practiced for countless epochs, and they have always been retreating to ensure their own vitality. Now that they finally have enough vitality, they are all trying to increase their basic supernatural power. Jian Wushuang took Lianxing down with him and went straight to the Shinmu King. Turning his head and looking around, it seems that these people have found nothing. Shinmu King is the lord of Hengmu, hovering in a formation in the center of the square. Seeing Jian Wushuang and Lianxing coming, they stopped and looked over. How is it there are discoveries? Lianxing took out the portrait with the most overlap and said, I don't know if this portrait is not counted. Have you ever found the portrait? Where did you appear? After seeing the portrait on the portrait, King Shinmu was stunned for a moment. Then his eyes flickered, and he turned his head to look at the huge formation behind him. Chapter 59:22. The same is true for the Lord of Hengmu, as if he has discovered something from it. Jian Wushuang and Lianxing quickly stepped forward and looked towards the formation. The huge array is not a circle, but a large hexagonal array of equals. Moreover, it is a one-piece formation, not a large and complicated formation that needs to be arranged one by one from the outside world. But this kind of big formation looks simple, but it is the most difficult. Because there is no shortcoming, there is no way to dismantle it. Is this? Jian Wushuang stared at the statue in the middle of the big formation and was stunned. Turning his head and glanced at the portrait again, he exclaimed, "It's the same as the portrait. It seems that this is the big man who once lived here." Seeing the surprised eyes of a few of them, many people gathered around. Jian Wushuang glanced at the statue and started to pace along the corner of the big formation. This big formation may be the key to their break. It has been a lot of time now, and Dan Bao from the outside may not be able to block it for too long. They must be as fast as possible. In this area of formation, he is not considered top, but there are so many great abilities here. There is always a major in formation, such as making stars. Senior star refining. Can you see the specific usage of this method? Jian Wushuang hovered around and came to the side of the star refining god, and said in a low voice, "If we can find a way to make a big formation, maybe it's our way to break the game." Shenmu King also looked at the refining star and said, "Friends of the refining star, please check it out." With that said, many people have turned to star refiners. The star refining is also not welcome, and initiatively stepped forward and began to study this formation. In his opinion, this formation does not match the so-called gods, and it is more like a practitioner built it himself. It's just the practitioner who built this formation very powerful. At least the master of the 8 tribulations realm universe. And more than one. If you let him crack it, it's almost impossible. But just to explore its usage, it's not difficult. After groping for a while, Lianxing followed one side and poured his divine power into the formation. The divine power turned into the power of mind, and the whole formation was perceived. A humming sound rang out at this moment, and a powerful aura burst out from the big array instantly, shaking everyone back. Fortunately, this breath lasted for a long time, and it didn't have much power, otherwise they would all get injured. Even so, many people were still shocked. Are there any discoveries? Shenmu Wang looked at Xingxing. His breath exploded just now. It was obvious that Xingxing had touched some kind of mechanism. This formation contains a complete time and space. My thought power just felt this power, so it triggered the formation's self-protection effect and shocked us all. After finishing the refining of the stars, he glanced at the sculpture in the center of the formation and said, "That statue is the center of the formation." In fact, it goes without saying that they can also guess it. Now the most important thing is to start this big array. Otherwise they won't have any clues. I thought there were treasures here. After coming in, I found that the most important treasures were those that had been contaminated with that powerful presence. Search all the way. The whole city went through it, and there was no other key information. If it's the same as the last secret realm, that's okay. Just follow along step by step. But this time, there was no hint. They themselves don't know what to do. Jian Wushuang himself didn't have any confidence. Now that he has entered, he can't leave anymore. Everyone, when I look at the big formation, it may not be hiding a secret. At first, someone said that there are treasures here. Now it seems to be a joke. It's better to let Lord Danbao come in. We alone will not find the treasure even if there is a treasure. Well, this is a way. We can't find it. Maybe it will be triggered if Master Danbao comes in. Trigger. After Jian Wushuang heard this, his heart moved, and he felt that what the person said was reasonable. It's better to let Danbao come in and ignore Emperor Bobby. Just relying on people like them waiting here is not a solution. Shenmu King and Hengmu Lord looked at each other, and there was no better way. Just when they were about to give up, a white light began to glow in the formation. The light appeared, and this time they were prepared and backed away one after another. I was afraid of being shocked by that breath just like before. Only this time after the light beam was unfolded, the same breath did not erupt, but a projection descended from the sky. The projection is coming. The formation made a buzzing sound. It took a while before he stopped slowly. During this time, everyone also saw the shadows in the projection. A fat blue man with a certain black hat and 2 tentacles on the top of his head is extremely funny. Which big man is this? Someone asked carefully in a low voice. No one answered. Jian Wushuang recalled the portrait and felt that the person in the projection had the same skin color as the big figure who built the Sky City, but his appearance was much different. But now is not the time to struggle with this, in case they guessed wrong. The Lord of Hengmu was the most decisive, and when he saw the projection coming, he knelt down. Both Jian Wushuang and Shinmu King ignored the Lord of Hengmu, felt that kneeling could not solve the problem. If it's against them, begging for mercy is nothing. If it is beneficial to them, standing and talking is enough. Why bother to kneel down? It's very lively. An amiable voice came from the projection, and everyone was relieved when they heard the soft voice. Jian Wushuang took the initiative to stand up at this time and said, Junior Jian Wushuang, I have seen Senior. Regardless of whether the other party is a big man who built this place, they must be respectful. After all, they have come to someone else's territory. It's a pity that the great monk is not here. Otherwise you can ask the other person, this fat blue man, is it the lord of the realm? Jian Wushuang? The blue fat man walked out of the projection and came directly in front of everyone. To be precise, he came to Jian Wushuang. He looked down at Jian Wushuang and said in surprise, You are Jian Wushuang? Speaking of this, Jian Wu's face moved, and he looked down at himself a little dazed. Not only did he not expect the other party to know him, but even everyone present was the same. He did not expect Jian Wushuang to have a relationship with the person in the projection. King Shinmu looked at Jian Wushuang, and his heart exclaimed that Jian Wushuang's relationship was hard enough that everyone knew him. But Jian Wushuang really didn't know each other, so he could only smile awkwardly and nod his head. Thanks, Tusk, as my apprentice said, you are really extraordinary. The blue fat man commented indifferently. Jian Wushuang was flattered, and when he heard the apprentice in the other's mouth, his eyebrows twitched, making him even more puzzled. Why did you pull out another apprentice? He knew very few people in Guyu time and space. Some people have either fallen midway, or have already arrived here. Such as Wu Li. Refining stars is also counted as one. Chapter 59-23. He really couldn't think of the rest. Which country Master Yunji, his friendship with the other party was average, but the other party looked at Jin Chen's face and gave him some pointers. Is it? He suddenly thought of something and pointed at the blue fat man in surprise. Could it be them? Those people who came to Guyu time and space together from Qishan Temple? Except for these people, he couldn't think of anyone else. The blue fat man nodded and said, Yes, you were able to enter Guyu time and space because of me. As soon as these words came out, not only Jian Wushuang, but also Shinmu King was stunned. In this way, Jian Wushuang's identity was completely exposed. Sure enough, he was not a strong person in Guyu time and space. North time and space has 9 long rivers of core time and space. Jian Wushuang is so against the sky. Shinmu King has long doubted whether Jian Wushuang came from other larger and more powerful time and space, but he has never had the opportunity to verify the truth. Now with the evidence of the mysterious person in front of him, he completely believed it. It's just that Jian Wushuang didn't think otherwise. When I entered Guyu time and space, it was a time and space tunnel opened by the real spirit. This seemed to have nothing to do with the blue fat man in front of him. Although I have doubted the power of the true spirit, it can't be so coincidental. When he brought these people here, he meant it. I can't. Even this can be swayed by others. The blue fat man smiled. As if he could see through Jian Wushuang's thoughts, he said, How could the space-time tunnel be opened without my permission? In other words, the space-time tunnel is so easy to open. Why did any flame not get through to Qi the time tunnel of the temple? This time Jian Wushuang completely believed it. He bowed quickly and replied, Thank you, Senior, for your advice. Dare to ask Senior's name? No name, no surname, born of heaven and earth. There is only one small job title, Realm King. King of the world. Hearing the other party's self-reported identity, everyone knelt down unconsciously. It's the same with Jian Wushuang. I have been hearing the rumors of the Realm King. This is the first time I have seen it. At the same time, I was wondering who was so lucky to be able to approve of the World King. I thought that Fan Tianfeng's luck was good enough, but I didn't expect that there would be someone who would be able to approve of the Master of the World. Tongtian Buddha? The aptitude ranked the top 3 characters in the original universe. Zhenling once secretly evaluated that the future could surpass Shang. Not under Hui Qing. Hui Qing is unlikely, because Hui Qing is still in the ancient moon ruins. He also knows the abilities of the others. When Zhen Wuyang was in Qi Temple, his talent was at the top, and he was always overwhelmed by the Tongtian Buddha. There are also Dong Sheng and Wan Yin. These 2 are not as good as Zhen Wuyang. As for the 2 in the other universes, it's not very good either. He reasoned everyone, but he didn't think of Wuxia. In his opinion, Wuxia's potential is more general. At the beginning, Qixin didn't really like it, let alone the king of the world. But this time, he was really small. After a few words of greeting between Jie Wang and Jian Wushuang, he went straight to the subject. The position of the god of life was proposed by the realm king. Appearing here naturally, it was not because of Jian Wushuang's reminiscence, but because of Dan Bao's affairs. Everyone now wants to know the intention of the realm king to send them here. The Jie king glanced at the crowd with his hands behind his back and was taken aback for a moment. Then the 2 tentacles on the top of his head moved, and he felt Dan Bao's position. You are really interesting. Let Dan Bao wait outside for that giant clan powerhouse, and come here by himself. When these words were said, Jian Wushuang and the others were indeed a little embarrassed. But this also meets the criteria for the original selection. The King of Worlds nodded in satisfaction. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. I'm afraid the Realm King blames them at this time. At this time, Shinmu King was brave and asked, Master Realm, I wonder why you got us here? Then he paused for a while and then asked, After Danbao enters this place, you should not directly step into God. Is it stepped? This is what the great monk said. They didn't know. Not to mention it's okay. After they came in, they found that they were different from what the great monk said. The of life is related to the life of the entire Beishikong. It is not as easy as you think. The points I set here are because I want to stop some people. Jian Wushuang frowned and said, Could it be to stop Emperor Bobby? Emperor Bobby? The Realm King shook his head and explained, Which Emperor Bobby I have noticed is not a threat. He can't walk up the ladder of becoming at all. As for his secret method of resurrection, it fits well. My appetite is considered a personal talent, but it is a pity that it comes from the stars, and I am destined to not be the of our northern time and space. Star life. It belongs to the starry sky. When you come to the long river of time and space, it's good not to be squeezed out, and you want to become a god. Do you think everyone is a giant clan? The starry sky is also divided into ethnic groups. Jian Wushuang thought about it after hearing the explanation of the king of the world. This is a little different from what the great monk said at the time. The king of the realm meant that it seemed that people from Beishikong had the opportunity to become the of life. There is no such thing as the great monk said has rules. It is also possible that those things were meant by the great monk himself, and he deliberately pretended to be deep. He didn't think too much. The person I want to block you may know in the future but not now. Now that you can reach this place, it means that there is no problem in you, and you are qualified to enter the ladder of godhood with Dan Bao. Everyone looked happy, stepping on the ladder of becoming gods together. They are also regarded as witnesses. How can I be upset? In the future, it can become the first batch of resurrection. Jian Wushuang was not excited when he heard this. Just looking at the figure of the World King, I was a little puzzled. The opponent is the strongest true in Beishikong. How can it be projected together? The real body did not come. According to the other party, the of life is so important, why not come in person? Some make no sense before and after. At this moment, Weiss' voice rang in his mind. This little fat guy is using you, so be careful. Jian Wushuang was taken aback when he heard these words, and asked quickly, Could it be that he is not the Realm King? Who told you that the Realm King is a good person? No matter who you are, you must be careful. He was a little confused. No one in the relationship is a good person, right? But what does he have to take advantage of? There are many more powerful people here. Shinmu King, Great Monk and the two war beasts. Where does he need him as the master of the Six Tribulations realm universe? You don't believe it? Weiss brows, a little unhappy, he was questioned, and he appeared directly in front of Jian Wushuang when he moved his body. The Realm King was still in a cordial meeting with the Shinmu King, and suddenly he found a tall figure. His fat body was shocked. Chapter 59-24. Protoss. Jian Wushuang didn't expect Weiss to come out, and Weiss seemed to be indifferent to the Realm King of Northern Space and Time. When the World King saw Weiss, he was even more surprised, his eyes almost staring out. Under everyone's gaze, he directly knelt down. Master Xingling is here. Why don't you notify Xiao Wang? The Realm King knelt on his knees, incomparably respectful. King Shinmu was also stunned. After seeing the tall figure of Weiss, he was stunned for a moment, and then glanced at the Realm King, not knowing whether he was kneeling or standing. Wes, who had to laugh before he liked to talk, said with a straight face, "Seeing me, why don't you miss your real body?" This. Jia Wang was a little at a loss. He actually wanted to come here too. It's just that the current real body is on a snake path in the depths of Northern Space and Time. Beishikong. Above a huge ancient land above the 9 great time and space, there are countless palaces surrounding it. Where is the closest place to the real body? It is also the land of reincarnation in Northern Space-Time. In the sky above the land of reincarnation, there is this snake path. At this time, the real body of the Realm King was walking on the snake path. This snake path cannot fly, so you can only walk on foot. The Realm King is not alone. He is also carrying a person on his back. There was a gorilla behind him. Call. After the projected body saw Weiss, he stood up and froze in place. Wuxia, who was riding on his back, said in surprise, "Old man, why don't you leave?" Wuxia couldn't help it. After walking for a while, he couldn't walk anymore, and he could only be dragged away by the Realm King. Otherwise, you have to be exhausted on the snake path. At this time, the Realm King suddenly stopped moving. Wuxia glanced around, and then said, "Is it already here? Don't talk." The real body of the World King reprimanded loudly. Wuxia was taken aback. It was the first time that the Realm King, who had never lost his temper, reprimanded him so loudly. The projection of the Realm King in the Sky City was sweating profusely, and didn't know how to answer Master Weiss' words. Seeing that the King of the World did not speak, Weiss said calmly, "If you don't say it, just let me do it?" No, this is what Xiao Wang said." Jia Wang got up from the ground, and after hesitating for a moment said dejectedly, "Wanlu universe is wrapped in a metal life, my real body can't get in. It's pretty honest." Weiss nodded, and then said, "This willow tree is not originally from your northern space-time. The ability to stay here at the beginning depends on the difference in your background in northern space-time. You stayed here. What happened later? You raised a tiger and brought out the goddess. Or I cleaned up the mess for you. Now Wanlu has a problem again. It seems that it really doesn't belong to your Beishikong." When Wes spoke, all the time and space around him stagnated. Only Jia Wang and Jian Wushuang could move. At this moment, not only the time and space of the Sky City, even the entire Beishikong was suspended. It's just that those practitioners can't perceive that time has been suspended at all. Even the gods can't notice it. This is the strength of Weiss. The place Jian Wushuang's eyes saw enveloped the entire Wanlu universe. Also shocked by the strength of Weiss. On the contrary, he was not so interested in the Wanlu universe that Weiss pursued. He simply felt that the King of the North was too trash, and he couldn't even look at a treasure. God. In fact, it is not omnipotent. Just like the of life, he can open the way to resurrection, possess the ability to bring back the dead. But he wouldn't be too good at fighting. Only for life, he was invincible. The King of the World is in charge of the entire northern space-time. It seems invincible. In fact, this is not the case. He is just a spokesperson outside the starry sky. Only the ability to operate the rules, but not the ability to change the rules. So when the goddess was born, the Realm King had no choice but to summon a stronger in the starry sky. Weiss. That is when it appeared in Beishikong at that time. After solving the goddess, he did not leave directly, but to do the aftermath task. Of course, there are also things to be resolved. For example, waiting for Jian Wushuang to appear. This time I will not intervene in Wanli's matter. You have to solve it by myself. Otherwise I will take the Wanlu Shenmu back. You have to find another way to the position of the of life. Weiss did not give the King of Realm any face. The tone is serious, and there is no room for negotiation. It was also the first time Jian Wushuang saw such a serious way, and his heart was shocked. He originally recognized Weiss' ability, but he didn't feel the status of Weiss. Unexpectedly, the Realm King in front of Weiss would not dare to look up. For a while he dared not speak, just watched. The Realm King rolled his eyes and didn't dare to refute. He could only reply respectfully. Master Xingling, don't worry. I will solve the Wanlu problem if, in the event of an accident, I will take away the Wanlu Shenmu. But I will not take away the evil in it. The metal life. But the most powerful practitioner from Southern Spacetime won. You have to think about it. Yes. The Realm King didn't say much, and directly agreed. Jian Wushuang was stunned when he heard that, one of the most powerful practitioners from Southern Time and Space. He was at least a powerhouse in the Nine Tribulations realm. In the entire Beishikong, there are also 3 Nine Tribulations realm powerhouses. Those 3 eternal existences. However, looking at how worried the Jia Wang looked, it seemed that Jia Wang wanted to dispatch the 3 eternal existences. And it was not simple. If it weren't for this, it wouldn't be so entangled. Let the 3 super existences directly enter Wanlu and solve the metal life. It also requires them to waste time here. I've said everything that should be said. I don't care what you do. Weiss stretched his waist, looking very tired, turned his head and glanced at Jian Wushuang, and said indifferently, "You also have to be careful of that. Great monk." As soon as the voice fell, Weiss disappeared in place. Has entered Jian Wushuang's original universe. Be careful of the monk? Jian Wushuang's eyes flickered, and he said inwardly, "This old guy, there really is a problem." After the King of Realm appeared, he had some doubts about the old monk. It's just that the other party ordered by the Realm King himself. He has no reason to doubt. But the old monk is from Wanlu Universe. And Wanlu Universe has a god. All this is too coincidental. Weiss didn't remind him before. He was still holding illusions, thinking it was just a coincidence. And now it seems to be true. The of extinction is the of this place. I'm afraid that even Bobby D didn't know this. And he also understood some things in Weiss' words. For example, the of life in Beishikong only manages Beishikong. Nan Shikong also has the of life in Nan Shikong. Chapter 59-25. Extinction comes from the starry sky. And there is a high probability that it is the of the starry sky. Thinking of this, he figured everything out. Extinction is the force of life. You can go to Southern Spacetime or Eastern Spacetime. There is no need to come to North Time and Space. This time and space where the god of life was not born. He deliberately came to Beishikong, probably just to intercept the of life. In this way, the of life who swallowed the northern time and space can cast reincarnation. And what is cast is the reincarnation in the starry sky. Only in this way can we plan all this at such a high price. He turned his head and glanced at the Realm King. And he didn't know if the Realm King of northern space and time knew about the conspiracy of extinction. The World King knew that Emperor Bobby came from the starry sky, and he should also know the existence of extinction. But it does not necessarily know the conspiracy of destroying the gods. Otherwise, he won't be so anxious to get the fruition of the of life. After Weiss left, time and space returned to normal. The Realm King also breathed a sigh of relief, and looked at Jian Wushuang with fear in his heart. He also didn't expect Master Weiss to be still in northern spacetime. And it's in the original universe of the practitioner in front of you. This is the practitioner he personally introduced. He was shooting himself in the foot this time. Thinking of that metal being, he felt a headache. After gritting his teeth and pondering, he turned and said to everyone, "This time if you can help Dan Bao become the of life, and help him eliminate all threats, I will personally help you refine the origin of the universe and let you regain a new life. And I can guarantee that each of you can reach the 8 tribulations realm. If it was originally the 8 tribulations realm, I will also refine the treasures you need to cross the 9th tribulations. After hearing those 7 tribulations, his eyes changed color. Shenmue King was extremely shocked. Refined into a treasure of the 9 tribulations realm. This was beyond his expectation. It would be nice to be thinking about being a demigod. Unexpectedly, there is still a chance for the 9 tribulations realm. Jian Wushuang was also shocked by the handwriting of the Realm King. Obviously, he was under too much pressure to face Weiss, and he did not want to abandon the Wanlu Shenmue, let alone face the metal life. This is a great scourge. Not only will it threaten the god of life, it will also threaten the entire northern spacetime. Regarding this matter, the Realm King has laid his blood. He even directly took out a mustard seed and placed it in front of everyone. There is a forbidden fruit of divine power. As long as you swallow a forbidden fruit of divine power, your divine power will be doubled in the next hour. And of course there will be backlashes. But don't worry about this backlash. As long as the of life appears, it will help you recover. After speaking, he pushed the mustard to everyone. King Shenmue took it. There are a total of 76 in it. It is also their number. Even Jian Wushuang and Wu Li have one. The only things I can help you. It all depends on your good fortune. The King of Realm glanced firmly at the crowd and said in a low voice, "Remember, you are not fighting for yourself, but for the entire northern space and time. As long as you win this time, I promise in the future that you will not only be resurrected, but also enter the main time and space. Wherever there is a stronger heritage, it will be yours." When King Shenmue heard this, his eyes were round, and he unconsciously said, "Could it be the Jexing continent?" "Yes, it's the realm of the Heart continent. I still have a lot of realm gods' orders on my body. Those with great credit can naturally get it." The King of Realm smiled indifferently, and then said, "As long as your credit is great enough, except for the fixed gods. Outside of the position, I can satisfy everything, even the 9 tribulations realm." Call. Everyone took a deep breath. The words of the Realm King are getting bigger and bigger. They were so excited at this moment that they wanted to go out and fight Bobby D desperately. Jian Wushuang was not too excited but a little uneasy. He is the only one who knows the real situation. These people don't even know who their real opponents are this time. If you know it, I'm afraid it won't be so excited. The only threat on the face is Bobby D. Secretly, there is still the metal life that can threaten Wanlu Shenmue. Behind it is the shadow of extinction. This trip to the Willows was full of danger. It's not as simple as they thought. There is also the promise of Weiss. To trick him into Wanlu, I am afraid it is not looking for treasure for his hairless cat. He must be allowed in because of something. Otherwise, it won't directly give him the freedom of the upper half. Now he can see it clearly. There must be some hidden big secret in Wan Liu's universe. The more the other person cares, the more afraid he is. Especially the World King. This old man doesn't look like a good person. Wherever there are such pitfalls, he can't figure it out. Let them go as practitioners. What's the use of giving more treasures? No life to get it. Everything is empty talk. Just such a divine power forbidden fruit. Let them use it desperately. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath, and now he was on the thief ship. The rest of them were fooled by the Realm King, wishing to go out and fight with Emperor Bobby now. The Realm King also noticed this and quickly persuaded. You must remember that the enemy is often not in the face. Bobby is not a threat. It can only be regarded as a test. You can also cooperate with the other party when necessary. Don't worry. Emperor Bobby will definitely not become the of life. My Lord Jie, don't worry, we have a sense of measure. At this time, King Shenmue was still speculating on Jaiwang's mind. The Realm King previously praised Emperor Bobby as a talent, which made King Shenmue think that Emperor Bobby could not die. But Qi Juxiao must die. Because death and life are opposites. The rest of the people think the same way. These old guys have lived for countless epochs, and finally speculated about others. This time it was fooled by the Realm King. The Realm King took a deep breath and felt that if he continued speaking, these people might understand more things. So they stopped talking nonsense and said, "It's all up to you. This formation will send you to God. It's up to you." After talking about the projection, it disappeared. The formation also closed the enchantment at this moment. They can enter at will, but they need life force to open it. This is simple. When Danbao comes over, it can be turned on at will. Even Jian Wushuang has the ability to open it himself. It's just that if you don't bring Danbao, it's useless if they turn it on. This is the same as not thinking about when you go to practice. You must bring Danbao. King Shenmu checked the formation for a while, turned his head and said to Jian Wushuang, "Friend Wushuang, your life force should also be able to open this formation, right?" "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded, wondering what the other party was going to do. After getting the affirmation, Shenmu grinned and continued, "I have a plan to get rid of Bobby D." Chapter 59-26. What strategy? The crowd gathered around. Jian Wushuang was also very curious. But after Shenmu Wang finished speaking, he regretted agreeing to respond. The other party is going to use his life force to open the formation, and then notify Danbao to come in, and it will be able to instantly activate the big formation, and then get rid of Bobby D. It sounds pretty good, but it's not that easy to do. The life force required by the formation can revive a universe. Even for him, it takes a day. If Danbao started the formation, it might take enough time for a stick of incense. At this time, as long as the king of Shenmu and the great monk were outside to make a stick of incense. Obviously, King Shenmu was already afraid of Qi Jiuxiao and didn't dare to take any risks. Just let him do this. Think about it. The World King said, "Don't care about the threat of Emperor Bobby." Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded, agreeing. Upon seeing this, King Shenmu said excitedly, "This time, Wushuang Daoist has made a great contribution. In the future, following Master Danbao, he will definitely have a bright future." "Don't talk nonsense, let's start." The Lord of Hengmu couldn't wait. Jian Wushuang rolled his eyes, didn't care about these people, but walked into the formation. After entering the big formation, he took the lead to walk to the statue in the center. The hole to inject life force is here. As long as there is enough life force, the formation can be opened. He didn't rush to inject life force, but stared at the sculpture carefully and observed it. I didn't look carefully outside just now, and now after a closer look, he found that this sculpture was somewhat familiar with the Realm King. I originally thought this was a masterpiece of the Realm King, but after the Realm King appeared, he saw the face clearly, which is different from carving. The Jiawang wears a hat, and his body is relatively fat. The sculpture in front of me is a bit thin and not big. At the beginning, it was possible to build this sky city in the Wanlu universe. The background is definitely not small. Wanlu universe, or this sacred tree of Wanlu, was obtained by Weiss to supplement the background of northern spacetime. In this way, this sacred tree of 10,000 willows is the top treasure in the entire northern space and time, qualified to enter this place to rest. Except for the King of Realm, he couldn't think of anyone else. But looking at the sculpture now, it was not the Realm King. He was so surprised. The secret here may be related to this carving. Jian Wushuang guessed secretly in his heart. After going around for a while, he didn't hesitate, and immediately injected life force. A large amount of life force entered into the sculpture. But this sculpture is like a bottomless pit. In one day, he still regarded himself highly. It lasted for almost 2 days before he injected to around 99%. King Shenmu came to urge several times. If it weren't for the strength of the opponent, he would have liked to give the opponent a sword. Really think he doesn't need money for his vitality? Such a huge life force was transformed by him with the power of all things. Everything. It takes treasures to condense. How much can he condense? It's okay to maintain the usual battle. Really want him to infinite output. Still need treasures to supplement. All the treasures he had previously obtained in the infinite world, as well as his own accumulation, were thrown in. Hunyuan stones are all spent clean. Now in the mustard, it's cleaner than the face. Fortunately, for the fruits he got the condensed original chess pieces ahead of time. Otherwise he would lose too much this time. Everyone is so excited now, wishing to die for Dan Bao to become a god. He was too embarrassed to talk about his expenses. Can only swallow it. It can be regarded as the sacrifice that Dan Bao made for them. Since he was holding his thigh this time, it would be good to sacrifice some points, which also seemed to be useful to him. Shinmu King, you go to pick up Dan Bao. I am here to guard. Good. After making a gesture to the other party, Jian Wushuang breathed a sigh of relief. The Lord of Eternal would leads people into the big formation. King Shinmu went to meet Dan Bao to come in. Outside the Sky City, Dan Bao's shield of life was stunned for 2 days and 2 nights. Not only is Bobby D surprised, even Dan Bao himself did not expect that his life force could be endless. Although there is the core of life origin, but everything does not come from nowhere. There will always be times when you can't hold on. He has not yet become the of life. As predicted, the shield of life, under Qi Jiexio's attack, had cracks. When the monk saw it, his heart sank, angrily scolded Shinmu Wang and the others for procrastination, saying that the time of the day was good, but it was delayed by 1 day. Little Lord, let's withdraw, the great monk said nervously. If this continues, Qi Jiuxiao will be able to smash the shield of life within the time of a stick of incense. It takes a long time for a stick of incense. Once a crack appears, it may be broken in an instant. Dan Bao also understands, but now that he has withdrawn, he has lost all his efforts. Ken only clenched his teeth and insisted, unmoved. But the shield of life could not stop Qi Jiuxiao by persisting. As his vitality continued to decline, the shield of life also shattered. Wow! Shield broken. The great monk resolutely stood in front of Dan Bao. It's the same with Brew. Let's go, is really not the time to head on. The monk turned his head and said to Baloo, you take the little lord and go quickly, leave it to me here. Upon seeing this, Baloo knew how to measure, and while pulling Dan Bao, he fled directly towards the city in the sky. The great monk's divine power suddenly increased, and a flying kick directly stopped Qi Jiuxiao. Thanks, Tusk, overwhelming. Bobby D sneered. The Soul Tiandi and others behind him bypassed the great monk and rushed towards Dan Bao. Baloo, incarnate as a real dragon, possesses a half-step battle power in the 8 Tribulations realm, which is already comparable to the original dragon god. But facing several top powerhouses in the 7 Tribulations realm, as well as a powerhouse in the 8 Tribulations realm, he was still powerless. Can only rely on speed to resist. The 2 war beasts and the great monk fought against Qi Jiuxiao together, but it was only a breath, and it was broken. Just when they were desperate. Shinmu King is here. Look for Jian Wushuang after entering the city, and leave it to me here. Shinmu King yelled, and when his breath shook, he said that the Soul Tiandi and the others retreated, randomly rushed towards Qi Jiuxiao. He and the great monk were able to barely block Qi Jiuxiao. The 2 war beasts are just like decorations. The top of the 8 Tribulations realm, in front of Qi Jiuxiao, are all the same as the ants. If it wasn't for the defense of the beasts themselves to be stronger, I'm afraid Qi Jiuxiao would be able to slay these 2 beasts at will. 2 8 Tribulations realm top battle beasts, plus 2 8 Tribulations realm peak powerhouses, blocked Qi Jiuxiao in front of them. Shinmu, can the formation be opened? The great monk was in a panic at this time, revealing something. The Shinmu King next to him rolled his eyes, but his expression did not change. He replied, the formation can be opened, and there is only a trace of life force. Lord Dan Bao will be able to open it instantly, and we will also go. Retreat. Chapter 59:27. Hearing that the formation can be opened, the great monk's divine power has also been reduced a lot, and he has some confidence. On Dan Bao's side, he had already followed Baloo to the Sky City. Without chasing soldiers, it was exceptionally smooth, and it didn't take long to reach the square in the center of the city. Quickly enter the formation. Jian Wushuang was also a little panicked when he saw Bu come with Dan Bao in embarrassment. At the same time, he felt the oppression from Qi Jiuxiao. Bobby D and others also entered the city, And it's coming here quickly. Although King Shenmu and others blocked Qi Jiuxiao, they couldn't move. Bobby D took the people, bypassed the Shenmu king and others, followed Baloo and Dan Bao all the way to the square. Dan Bao entered the formation with his front foot, and Emperor Bobby wanted to keep up with his back foot. The strong within the formation are all in the Seven Tribulations realm. The strongest is the Lord of Hungmu. And without any hesitation at this time, he rushed out with a few powerhouses at the peak of the Seven Tribulations realm. Are you injured? Jian Wushuang put one hand on Dan Bao's shoulder and said in surprise, "How come your life force is gone?" "No problem. It's just that the shield of life is overdrawn too much." Dan Bao shook his head. But in this way, Jian Wushuang had to activate the formation. It's still a little bit short of life force now. He can only turn his head and continue to inject life force. Dan Bao has a strong spirit, and he knows that there are still a lot of them. So he stepped forward and injected life force together. Wu Li also leaned over at this time and gave the fruits of life he had obtained to Pil Bao and Jian Wushuang. This made Jian Wushuang very surprised. He didn't expect that Wu Li had changed so much, and he knew that he had made dedication. "Brother Wushuang, you have to stand it up. It's up to you whether I can become the Eight Tribulations realm or not." Wu Li was not able to say it directly, so he took the initiative to transmit Jian Wushuang's voice. After hearing the other party's true thoughts, Jian Wushuang grinned. The other party was Wu Li, who he knew, without a trace of change. "Do not worry." He didn't say much, so he injected life force with Dan Bao. The Lord of Eternal Wood is blocking Bobby D and the others. Although the Soul Tiandi was powerful, the two of them were also half-hearted against Hungmu. They are all half-hearted in Eight Tribulation realm combat power. As long as King Shenmu frees up a hand, he will be able to abolish the opponent. It is a pity that Shenmu King and the Great Monk are passively beaten. There is no way to retreat, and he is outside the formation. At this time, the life force in the sculpture is also full. The green breath filled the entire formation. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed when he saw this. Dan Bao's life force was indeed strong. Even if he forced it out a little, it was countless times stronger than his. Fast forward, there is only one breathing time. Transmit this news instantly. The Lord of Hungmu directly led people back here. Shenmu King and the Great Monk looked at each other, and the two of them gathered a large group of supernatural powers at the same time and threw them towards Qi Jiuxiao, then turned and rushed into the formation. Emperor Bobby also saw the strangeness at this time and quickly reminded Qi Jiuxiao, "Leave them alone, let's talk about it after breaking the formation." The towering Qi Jiuxiao raised his hand to bounce the two condensed divine powers, raised a fist, and slammed into the formation fiercely. All this is too fast. As soon as the Shenmu King and the Great Monk entered the formation, they felt a strong pressure. The formation is beginning to wither. Jian Wushuang was taken aback. Who built this formation? According to common sense, Qi Jiuxiao has half the battle power of the Nine Tribulations realm, and it is impossible to destroy it. The ground kept shaking and sinking, and Jian Wushuang was a little unsteady. Dan Bao and Wu Li, the nearest to him, almost fell down and were both supported by him. Qi Jiuxiao. He held Dan Bao with one hand and Wu Li with the other. He looked up at Qi Jiuxiao in the sky with fear in his eyes. A huge boxing shadow fell again. Wu Li closed his eyes directly. Dan Bao also took a half step back. Jian Wushuang directly performed the super eternal transformation and was ready to swallow the forbidden fruit of divine power. Once the large formation is damaged, it cannot be transmitted. Then I can only escape with Dan Bao. He didn't have time to control the rest. Can bring one as one. Boom. The moment before the shadow of the fist fell on the formation was completely activated, and everyone standing on the formation disappeared instantly. Qi Jiuxiao's punch also hit the center of the formation. It's just that there is no figure in the formation. Bobby jumped and cursed angrily. This time the formation was really destroyed. They want to catch up again, not knowing when. Damn it! Emperor Bobby's eyes were full of flames, and his figure continued to rise. He looked carefully, except for this valley, surrounded by the beginning of chaos. Don't know where to go. The formation was broken, Even he couldn't repair it. Want to leave here? Look for Jian Wushuang and others, they can only fly out. Emperor Bobby flashed his inspiration, thinking of the Akatsuki ghost defeated by Akajiexio. The opponent's complete body also has a half-step around the 9 tribulations realm. It's a pity that he still lost in the face of Qi Jiuxiao. But Emperor Bobby didn't kill the opponent. This was a big deal, and it was a shame to kill. As long as the opponent is enslaved and allowed to completely swallow the aura in the Sky City, it is equivalent to one more half-step 9 tribulations realm servant. How could he be willing to kill? It now appears that he is not only a helper, but also a guide. Maybe the other party knows how to leave here. This time it was also good luck for Bobby D. And it really made him wrong. Akatsuki really knew how to leave. It's just that there are too many dangers along the way. Powerful people in the 8 tribulations realm are likely to fall. But Babidi didn't worry at all, because there were 2.5-step 9 tribulations realm powerhouses, and no one could stop them. The next time I meet Dan Bao and others, it won't be as simple as this time. If you can smash the shield of life, there is hope. In this way, it is not impossible to take the other party. At the same time, Jian Wushuang and the others also understood that relying on Dan Bao could not protect themselves. No wonder the Realm King would give them supernatural power, forbidden fruit. They have to fight for everything. With the start of the formation, they left the city in the sky in an instant. Even left that time and space. Completely entered the interior of Wanlu universe. Just because of the destruction of the formation, when they were teleported, there was also an accident. The black hole in the shuttle cracked open. Jian Wushuang pulled Dan Bao and Wu Li directly into the crack of the black hole. This kind of crack is not a big threat to them, but it was not a small trouble to get away from Xinmu Wang and others. The great monk and Xinmu King behind saw Jian Wushuang taking Dan Bao into the crack of the black hole. The bottom of my heart sank, and when I wanted to follow in, the cracks began to heal. Can't get in at all. Get out of the way, let me blast it away. The great monk was the most anxious, and directly pushed the Xinmu King away, and attacked towards the edge of the black hole. Chapter 59-28. Xinmu King was shocked, and quickly dissuaded him. Even if you blast it in, you won't find Dan Bao. At the same time, he secretly cursed the great monk from the bottom of his heart, and didn't even have any common sense of time and space. In the space, you can find the target according to the space mark. But the space-time black hole here contains time. Just that moment of time. I don't know how much space has passed. However, the great monk had to look for the pill treasure by engraving the boat and seeking the sword. This is outrageous. In the 8 tribulations realm, he didn't even know this theory. King Xinmu doubted whether the other party was stunned. Then what do you say? The great monk was frustrated and looked at King Xinmu. Bulu wasn't worried because he believed in Jian Wushuang. But the rest of the people's goal is Dan Bao. Now Dan Bao halfway into the crack of the black hole. Who else can they follow? Don't worry. King Xinmu turned his gaze and then he said, just keep walking. Bulu is of the same clan as Lord Dan Bao, and you will definitely feel the breath of Lord Dan Bao. How big? Everyone breathed a sigh of relief when they heard this sentence. Only the great monk's eyes rolled round, glanced at these people, and said tremblingly, go in and you'll know how old you are. Wanlu universe. Comparable to most of the time and space of Guyu. I really want to look for it. I can't find it after 10 or 8 years. Where's the rules? Unlike Guyu time and space, the speed may be much slower. If Dan Bao is not in God, they still have to be in the lower realm. That would be even slower. But now there is no better way. And most of these people are still willing to believe in Xinmu King. After all, he was the pioneer of the Guma school, and also the powerful king of the Guma continent. Although the great monk was strong, he was also the first to take refuge in Dan Bao. But there was a distance in the end. The other side, Jian Wushuang and others were drawn into the cracks of the black hole without any panic. In the cluttered space, he began to use his mind to feel the breath. Feel the breath of life. As long as the breath of life in the middle of that space, where is the main time and space? N. Jian Wushuang's eyes gleamed, and he looked at a mirrored space and said, "That's it, let's go in." Neither Wu Li nor Dan Bao hesitated, and rushed over after him. In that mirror space, Jian Wushuang not only felt the breath of life, but also felt a powerful wave of divine power. Moreover, the space of the mirror surface is not stable. It is obviously fighting. The spread of the battle shattered the space, but time is stable, and they can take the opportunity to enter. As for the threat, this has not really been considered. It is impossible to be unlucky enough to encounter the Eight Tribulations realm, even if it is a battle in the Eight Tribulations realm. In fact, according to the current strength of Jian Wushuang, he can still resist it. If he couldn't bear it, he would run away. As long as he didn't encounter the Nine Tribulations realm for half a step, even at the peak of the Eight Tribulations realm, he would be able to escape in front of the opponent. What's more, he now has a forbidden fruit of divine power. Under the super-eternal change, he has 4 million divine power, plus the double of the divine power forbidden fruit, that is 8 million. This is already the top combat power of the Eight Tribulations realm. Naturally emboldened, wow! He tore through the mirror space at will, pulled Dan Bao and Wu Li into the space. Just entered the main time and space, which is the interior of Wanlu universe. The dimness and roar is what catches the eye, and countless huge dust floating in the sky. Said to be dust, each piece has the size of a fist. As Jian Wushuang guessed, there was indeed a battle here. It can be said that it is full of gods and Buddhas, with unlimited divine power. The battle here is not as simple as one person and two people. It's more like a national war. There are more than hundreds of millions of strong people gathered on both sides. The weakest are the strongest emperors. These emperors are fighting on the ground. The burly and hideous formation giant beasts, each condensed by millions of emperors, are capable of fighting the Lord of the universe. There are also many experts in the Tribulation realm, and most of them are in the 3 Tribulation realm. There is also the breath of 5 tribulations, and even 6 tribulations. The 3 Jian Wushuang looked around like a fly without a head. Their location is also very awkward. It seems to be at the core of the battlefield. In countless fights, the 3 of them appeared very small. Of course, this was because Jian Wushuang used his breath to hide their whereabouts. Otherwise, the breath of the 3 will be exposed. Not to mention Dan Bao. It is said that he and Wu Li are both the breath of the 6 Tribulations realm, with more than 1 million divine powers comparable to the 7 Tribulations realm. He looked around, and the strongest here was the 7 Tribulations realm. If this suddenly shows up, I'm afraid it will scare the other party. Let's go. Jian Wushuang was not interested in the battle here. He figured out the direction, and was ready to leave. But seeing Dan Bao's complexion, he took a deep breath. The of life saw the fight of countless strong men, the fall of countless lives. How could you pat your and leave? Even people who didn't wince Wu Li saw it all. Brother Wushuang, this is what is wrong with you. All living beings were originally free. Seeing them in the deep waters, how can you read www.akanshu.com? Sit back and watch. If you don't make a move, then let me come. After Wu Li finished speaking, he directly pulled away Jian Wushuang's breath, and his divine power was shocked, and countless strong people around him were instantly shaken away. Those condensed large formations also burst instantly. Millions of emperors were killed instantly. Wu Li smiled awkwardly. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. Those emperors who were closest to him had no ashes left. Dan Bao's complexion was dark. But he didn't mean to blame Wu Li. Jian Wushuang secretly laughed at Wu Li and flattered him. Not as good as his cheap daddy. Now that Wu Li has stepped forward, he must also express it. Dan Bao, what do you mean? But he wanted to ask Dan Bao what he meant, and it was best to listen to the other party. Avoid being thankless when you get it. But this time, Dan Bao shook his head and said, in this world, there is life and death. This is a cycle. We can't interfere. Wu Li's expression changed, but Dan Bao didn't expect Dan Bao to say such a thing. Jian Wushuang nodded in admiration, but after feeling a few glances he calmly said, it seems that we have to intervene. Wu Li's exposure directly attracted the attention of the Seven Tribulations realm. And there are at least 3 breaths at the Seven Tribulations realm level. One of them is the top of the Seven Tribulations realm, with a divine power of about 1.8 million. There are also 2 Seven Tribulations realm powerhouses with 1.5 million divine powers. These 3 breaths are not harmonious. Obviously a hostile relationship. 3 figures descended from above the 9 heavens and instantly arrived in front of Jian Wushuang and the others. At the same time, they also ordered to stop fighting. The billionaires on both sides backed away thousands of miles and then looked at the people in the center of the battlefield. Chapter 59-29. Wu Li glanced around, his expression unchanged. It's just a Seven Tribulation realm powerhouse. He naturally didn't panic at all. With Jian Wushuang in, the 8 Tribulations realm came without much threat. 3 fellow Taoists. This place is the realm of the Jinwu dynasty. I don't know why they came here. Which one of the top powerhouses in the Seven Tribulations realm was the first to speak? The other 2 Seven Tribulation realm powerhouses were not behind, and furiously said, "This place is originally the land of my Nanyun nation. These 3 fellow Taoists come here, and there is no need for your Jinwu dynasty to interrogate." As soon as he speaks, he starts to provoke the relationship. Can't wait to start the fight right away. Wu Li watched the excitement, and even wanted to watch them fight. Dan Bao didn't plan to take care of it anyway. Jinwu. After Jian Wushuang heard this familiar name, his heart was shocked. It reminded him of Jin Wuyang. Scenes flashed through my mind. Pulled him back to the big division domain. Thought of the past. During the period of wandering in Desiyu. Although it is boring, but also has a lot of friends. During that time, it was his worst experience. After entering the Great Wilderness, and then to Chishan Temple time and space, he almost forgot about Desiyu. The last time he mentioned it was when Zhen Wuyang told him about the death of Desiyu. Desiyu is gone, and the remaining memories are on Zhen Wuyang. Which noble emperor? The pride of Desiyu. The superpower of the primitive universe. Once the scenery was endless. After entering Guyu time and space, there was no news. Now that I heard the word Jinwu again, I thought of Zim Yang unconsciously. At the same time, he also had a good impression of the Jinwu dynasty. With just a glance, he could deduce from the breath of the other party that this place was indeed the realm of the Jinwu dynasty. The invading party should be Nanyun country. The 3 of us came here just passing by, without any attempt. Jian Wushuang recollected a moment, and stood up as an answer. Now is not the time for him to remember. The most important thing at the moment is to find King Shenmu and others. Let the great monk lead the way to find the ladder of God. I didn't want to waste time here. As Wu Li and Dan Bao were wrapped in breath, and he was about to leave. This action directly made it impossible for the powerhouses of the Jinwu dynasty and the Nanyun kingdom to be able to get them. In the face of the 3 people who suddenly appeared, they were all extremely defensive. The divine power that Wu Li had just exploded had the power of half a step in the Seven Tribulations realm. And they could see that Jian Wushuang was the leader, and he couldn't see through his strength. I am afraid it is a strong man in the Seven Tribulations realm. This place is the lower realm of Wanlu universe. The sky is the big world. Above is God. Both the Nanyun kingdom and the Jinwu dynasty were the top forces in the celestial world. There are half-step 8 Tribulations realm powerhouses. However, the founding ancestor of the Jinwu dynasty, a strong man of sabotage, is now on the verge of falling. That's why Nanyun kingdom dared to aggressively attack the Jinwu dynasty. There are actually not many forces of this level in the entire vault of heaven. It was different from what Jian Wushuang had initially expected. He originally thought that the special nature of Wanlu universe would give birth to an unexpectedly strong man. It seems that it is nothing more than that. The 8 Tribulations realm is still very pitiful. The 7 Tribulations realm powerhouse of Jinwu dynasty, looking at his leaving back, his eyes flickered, and he had already transmitted the affairs of this place to the inside of the dynasty. The same goes for the 2 Seven Tribulations realm powerhouses of Nanyun kingdom. Compared with the downfall of the Jinwu dynasty, the powerhouses of Nanyun Kingdom are more confident. Facing the mysterious powerhouse that suddenly appeared, he would let him go like this. What if it is the conspiracy of the Jinwu dynasty? Dang even lifted off and blocked the way of Jian Wushuang and others. In the distance, there are 3 powerful breaths, which are constantly approaching. The South Cloud Kingdom obviously came prepared. You too, what do you mean? Jian Wu changed his face and felt the aura of threat from a distance. At least 3 top powerhouses in the 7 Tribulations realm. The 2 Nanyun Nation's 7 Tribulations realm powerhouses sneered and said in a bad tone, I said this place is the boundary of Nanyun Nation. You can come and leave if you want. Wouldn't you not give me Nanyun Nation? Face, let alone killed the emperor of my Nanyun Kingdom. Which of the top experts in the 7 Tribulations realm of the Jinwu dynasty below is taking a half step back and preparing to watch the show? In fact, there is also fear in the bottom of my heart. Worrying is the bitter ploy of Nanyun Nation, but their Jinwu dynasty is now deeply trapped in the vortex of war, surrounded by enemies on all sides, and can't mobilize extra powerhouses to frighten here. He can only stand alone here. At the same time, I also prayed from the bottom of my heart that the arrival of these 3 mysterious powerhouses has nothing to do with Nanyun Kingdom. In this way, if the 2 sides fight, he can also slow down. Wu Li's expression moved, and he stood up directly. He now also has the top combat power of the 7 Tribulations realm. How could he be afraid that the 2 ordinary 7 Tribulations realm in front of him would dare to block the way? And immediately shocked with divine power, and burst out with all his strength. The 2 Nanyun Kingdom powerhouses were also taken aback, and discovered that Wu Li's divine power unexpectedly surpassed them. But depending on the opponent's realm, it's only the 6 Tribulations realm. For a while, I was a little panicked, worried about kicking the iron plate. But this outbreak of Wu Li made them even more sure that it must be the trick of the Jinwu dynasty. Marquis Jinwu, your Jinwu dynasty hides so deeply that there are such superpowers hidden. The Jinwu dynasty's top powerhouse of the 7 Tribulations realm, Zhen Wuho, did not answer. But there was fear in his eyes, and he immediately raised his hand to signal the army of practitioners behind to retreat. Once the fighting broke out between the 7 Tribulations, this place would be destroyed. The army of practitioners cannot withstand the aftermath of divine power. Nangong Hua, I don't know what you are talking about. Since you think it was the trick of my Jinwu dynasty, why don't you go through these 3 Taoist friends? Zhen Wuho sneered, and then immediately backed away. He can't figure out the intention of the other party now, so he can only take someone back first. This made the 2 7 Tribulations realm powerhouses of Nanyun Nation somewhat unable to see through. Don't pay attention to them. Jian Wushuang shook his head and said calmly, let's just leave. There is no need to talk nonsense with these people. You hit me, I hit you. What's the use? Their purpose is not to waste time here. That's right, they are just frogs at the bottom of the well. Wu Li sneered, and the divine power was also incorporated into the divine body, and he glanced at each other disdainfully. This made the 2 powerhouses of Nanyun Kingdom very angry, and said angrily, despise me? Although angry, it can be seen now that the other party may really have passed by here. But it is also true to kill them, the emperor of Nanyun Kingdom. They are all stopped now. I can't just let them go like this. Unfortunately, they think too much. Jian Wushuang wanted to leave, even in the 8 Tribulations realm. Wow! A pair of dark red wings, covering the sky and obscuring the sun, unfold in an instant. Chapter 59:30. The candle dragon's wings shook slightly, and Jian Wushuang was ready to leave here with Danbao and Wu Li. The huge candle dragon's wings are extremely sharp, and the upper part contains a complete source of space. Now it has completely recovered to its peak state, which is comparable to the treasure of the universe in the 8 Tribulations realm. The 2 7 Tribulations realm powerhouses of the Southern Cloud Kingdom were stunned when they saw the pair of wings, especially the powerful divine aura above, which made them unable to breathe. The fierce breath can instantly kill the Lord of the Universe below the Seven Tribulations realm. Even the Seven Tribulations realm was extremely frightened when faced with such a powerful treasure. But this is just a part of the beast's soldier. The top powerhouse of the Seven Tribulations realm in the Jinwu dynasty was also extremely afraid and could not help but retreat. The wings ripped apart the space, and Jian Wu's eyes were about to leave. But he was stopped by a shout. Jian Wushuang. The voice was very familiar to Jian Wushuang, and his figure stopped at a moment's notice, turning his head to look at the dense army of the Jinwu dynasty. I found the direction where the sound came from, and saw the figure. A golden robe, full of extravagance, sitting in the middle army, with scarlet blood on his body. Jian Wushuang looked down at each other. Which golden robe figure is also looking at Jian Wushuang? He discovered Jian Wushuang early in the morning, but he couldn't believe it at that time. But after seeing the pair of dark red wings, he was sure that the mysterious powerhouse in front of him was Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, who entered the ancient moon time and space with him. It is also Jian Wushuang, who proposed to bring them into the different time and space. In the world of the Vault of Heaven, after countless epochs, I finally saw the people I was familiar with. If it wasn't for Jian Wushuang's appearance, he would have thought that everything in the past was a dream. Brother Wushuang, why don't you move? Seeing Jian Wushuang, who was stunned, Wu Li wanted to reach out and shout, but was stopped by Dan Bao. Jian Wushuang ignored the two people around him at this time, and his figure slowly flew towards the army of the Jinwu dynasty. This scene frightened the Marquis Jinwu of the Jinwu dynasty, turning his head and taking a look, the golden-robed blood shadow. The first prince. That golden-robed figure is the eldest prince of the Jinwu dynasty, the future heir, the current prince, and the master of the universe of the Five Tribulations realm. He must keep it, otherwise the Jinwu dynasty will be over. Prince, if something goes wrong, the dynasty will collapse quickly. But he could see that the eldest prince seemed to know this mysterious powerhouse. But he didn't dare to gamble. Even when he rushed to the central army, he wanted to stop Jian Wushuang. It's just that his figure just arrived in front of Jian Wushuang. But he found that it was just an afterimage. It didn't stop at all. Jian Wushuang didn't take the other party as a person at all, and his figure kept flickering, seemingly very slow. But in fact he had reached the middle army, came in front of the golden-robed figure. He stopped in place and looked up at a familiar figure. Have not seen you for a long time. The figure of Jin Pao trembled with trembling hands, stepped forward quickly, stood in front of Jian Wushuang, tremblingly said, "How many years? Do you know how many years I have been looking for you?" Jian Wushuang sighed. This place is Wanlu Universe. How could it be possible to find them? And this is the great world under the sky. The time and space are different, and the time and space are even more different. Seeing the precipitation of the other party's breath, he knew that the other party did not know how many epochs he had cultivated here. In the outside world, he is full of calculations, just over 10,000 years. But here, I am afraid that countless epochs have passed. From the emperor, he has reached the Five Tribulations realm. True Wuyang, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. Why are you here? This place is the Wanlu Universe. When they entered the heavenly maiden time and space, it is reasonable to say that they should appear in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. He never expected that Zemyang would enter the Wanlu Universe. It was the Wanlu Universe that he wanted to enter in his dreams. People are more mad than people. Some are begging to come in, and some are begging to go out. What do you mean by this? Zhen Wuyang was stunned for a moment. Jian Wushuang explained at this time. It's a long story. In fact, this is just a secret realm, or the origin universe of a super strong original universe. After Zhen Wuyang heard it, his eyes widened. He didn't expect that this incomparably huge world of the sky is just the origin universe of a super strong. And above the sky there is God. I don't know how much bigger than the original time and space they were in. After all, the space here is half the size of the ancient moon space-time. You must know that the ancient moon time and space is one of the 9 strongest time and space rivers in the northern time and space. The time and space of the primordial universe is just a tributary of upstream and downstream. The space is less than 1/10 of the time and space of Guyu. Zhenliang, who has never seen Guyu's time and space, naturally doesn't think that this place is just a secret realm. Some thinks it's a long story, there are many people here, it's better to change place. He never expected to find Jin Wuyang here. Heart is also very happy, and the strength of the other party is not bad. He is already the master of the 5 tribulations realm universe. Of course it also depends on time. The inheritance of this place is stronger than that of the ancient moon time and space. And when Zhenliang arrives here, Yu Kanshu www. Calm has cultivated for countless epochs, and it is also common sense to become the master of the universe of the 5 tribulations. 10 people at first. On potential, Zhenliang is the second echelon. It is much stronger than Dongxing and Wanyan. It is reasonable to cultivate to the 5 tribulations realm. Change the place. Zhen Wuyang was pulled back to reality in an instant. This place is a battlefield. It was the battlefield between their Jinwu dynasty and the Nanyun kingdom. He is the prince of Jinwu dynasty, the future emperor of Jinwu. Now, can he still go? Compared to the time in the original universe, or the DCU? More like a dream. Here he lived for countless months. If it weren't for Jian Wushuang's sudden appearance, he would have almost forgotten everything in the past. He also forgot the oath he made in front of Kishin's tombstone. Speaking of which, the original vision was also a bit of a joke. After so many years, he has not felt the backlash from the oath. From this point, he felt that everything in the past was really a dream. Forget it. Zhen Wuyang broke free from Jian Wushuang's arm, shook his head and said, "There are some things that I can't go back to." Jian Wushuang said in surprise, "You can't let these people go?" He turned his head to look around. The top powerhouse of the 7 tribulations realm of the Jinwu dynasty was standing behind him. The other party did not know the relationship between Jian Wushuang and Zhen Wuyang. "Eldest prince, do you know this fellow Taoist?" He looked at Jian Wushuang. Today's Jinwu dynasty is surrounded by enemies on all sides. If one more person from the 7 tribulations realm can help, it can increase the odds of winning by 1 point. Zhen Wuyang didn't have that thought at this time. He didn't want to admit everything at the beginning, but he took the initiative to recognize Jian Wushuang. The contradictions also represent his tangled heart. Chapter 59:31. Dan Bao and Wu Li also flew over. Seeing Jian Wushuang with a heavy expression, they were not easy to speak. "Are you really going to come with me?" "No, Desiyu is long gone, and the Qi temple has nothing to remember. Just a little sorry for that true spirit." Zhen Wuyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath. He did not blame Zhen Wuyang. If it were him, he might also lose himself in the endless years. But he didn't understand what was so good about being there. Even if you don't have any memories of the Qi temple, it is better to leave this place, go to the ancient moon time and space, and continue to practice. Why waste time between dynasties? Jinwu dynasty. Jian Wushuang turned to look at Zhenliang and said, "No matter what, I brought you here at the beginning. If you need anything, just speak." He is unwilling to give up on this. Perhaps solving the current troubles of the Jinwu dynasty can make Zhenliang transform. Desiyu is gone, but the feelings are still there. He can't forget that he almost became Zhen Wuyang's son-in-law, and the other party did not help him less. Even the opening of the Qi temple has a lot to do with Zhenliang. If Zhen Wuyang had not punished him for going to the great wilderness, he would not have opened the Qi temple. Everything from the beginning is still there. How to forget? "No, tell me, why did you come here?" Zhenliang didn't know how powerful Jian Wushuang was. Now their Jinwu dynasty was facing the encirclement and suppression of several countries. He himself had given up his former identity, and there was no reason to ask Jian Wushuang to help him. "I'm here because of him." Jian Wushuang turned his head to point to Dan Bao, and said, "These two are my friends, Dan Bao and Wu Li." Hearing the introduction of themselves, the two nodded politely. In Wu Li's heart, he was even more puzzled about Jian Wushuang's identity, and there were acquaintances everywhere. However, in the Wanlu divine realm. He also knew that Jian Wushuang came from a different time and space, not a cultivator of the ancient moon time and space. Maybe there was more than one person here. After Zhen Wuyang nodded, he said a little embarrassedly, "You have seen it too. This time the situation is special, but there is no way to entertain you." "It's simple," Jian Wushuang said indifferently. "Tell me the information of Nanyan Kingdom, and I will help you solve it." After Zhenmiang heard it, he was about to refuse when the Marquis of Jinwu immediately stood up and said with a light smile, "Thank you, fellow Taoist, for helping out. I am dissatisfied with fellow Taoist. This time Nanyan Kingdom has dispatched several seven tribulations realm to attack my Jinwu dynasty. If it weren't for the sudden arrival of the other party, the eldest prince would almost inherit the throne. Give it to me." The breath on Jian Wushuang's body shook, and he looked up into the distance. The powerhouse of the Southern Cloud Kingdom has arrived. Seeing this, Wu Li whispered, "Brother Wushuang, do you want me to help?" Now just the three of them. Dan Bao's life force is almost exhausted, and it is still recovering slowly, and there is no fighting power at all. At this time, he naturally has to express it. "No need, you can be by Dan Bao's side," Jian Wushuang said, and he lifted off into the sky, towards the army of Nanyan Kingdom. When the Marquis of Jinwu saw Jian Wushuang being so decisive, he was overjoyed in his heart, and quickly transmitted Zhenmiang, "Eldest Prince, is this the friend you met when you traveled?" After Zhenmiang became the Lord of the Universe, he left the Jinwu dynasty for almost hundreds of millions of epochs. After returning, he was the Lord of the Universe of the Five Tribulations realm, and his personality also changed. But the strength and potential were stimulated, and he was the first prince, so he was established as the prince. In this dynasty, no one has an opinion. The pioneer of the Jinwu dynasty was only a half-step 8 tribulation realm powerhouse, and the powerhouses under his command were limited. Among the younger generation, it is already very good to have a lord of the 5 tribulations realm universe. In fact, it is almost the same as the original Vietnam. It's just that the comprehensive strength exceeds that of Vietnam by too much. In the entire Jinwu dynasty, there are several strong people in the 7 tribulation realm, and there are as many as 100 strong people in the 6 tribulation realm. But the powerhouses of the true martial arts lineage are pitiful. Therefore Zhenmiang, the master of the universe of the 5 tribulations realm, will be reused. Now he has met a mysterious 7 tribulation realm powerhouse, and has made great achievements. Looking at Jian Wushuang's back, especially the amazing pair of wings, this time, he can definitely block the strong men of Nanyan Kingdom. As long as they block Nanyan Kingdom and other 4 battlefields, they can also take a breath. This time he was besieged by the 5 kingdoms, and the most threatening one was here. Really woohoo! The top 3 superpowers in the Jinwu dynasty sit in person, and the Southern Cloud Kingdom only dispatched 2 ordinary 7 tribulations realm, obviously did not dare to confront each other. But after hearing the arrival of a mysterious powerhouse, the Nanyan Kingdom did not dare to entrust the big one, and immediately dispatched all members. This time, in the attack on the Jinwu dynasty, there were 5 strong men in the 7 tribulations realm. All in place now, 2 ordinary 7 tribulations realm, 2 peaks of the 7 tribulations, and a peak of the 7 tribulations. This lineup is really good. It can crush the current Jinwu army. Marquis Jinwu also followed, and he was also the top powerhouse in the 7 tribulations realm. Which one has a single horn on his head is Venerable 9 Swords, the god of war of the Nanyan Kingdom. The rest are nothing to worry about, I can stop them by myself. It's just a few 7 tribulations realm, you don't need to intervene, just be optimistic. Jian Wushuang is very confident. Just these people. He doesn't need to use the super ancient transformation. The upper body of the robbery has 2 million divine power, and it is not easy to deal with these 7 robbery realms. The strong man on the Nanyan Kingdom side saw Jian Wushuang approaching, and his eyes rolled. It's him. He seems to be a good friend with the prince of the Jinwu dynasty. He should be here to help. His divine power is only 1.5 million, and it's not as strong as you said. 9 short swords were suspended behind Venerable 9 Swords, with a sharp breath, and his eyes were cold when he looked at Jian Wushuang. Although he is not afraid, the other party is not from the Jinwu dynasty. It is better not to do anything, he immediately shouted at Jian Wushuang. If you retreat now, I will forgive the Nanyun kingdom. This sentence is the same for you. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently and sent this sentence to the other party. What do you mean? Literally, of course, the other party is afraid of him, but he is not afraid of the other party. As soon as the words fell, the divine power suddenly erupted, the robbery armor appeared, the divine power directly exploded to 2 million, and instantly rushed to the army of the Southern Cloud Kingdom. Since he chooses to help Zhengyang resolve the dynastic disputes, he will resolve it at one time. Anyway, he couldn't become the of life, and he was not polite. The slaughter desire in his bones soared, ignoring those emperors, and he killed the great formation of countless emperors. After Venerable 9 Swords reacted, he was furious. Chapter 59:32. His divine power also exceeded 2 million, and he immediately greeted him. 9 short swords, with a humming sound, converged into a cage with perfect streamlines, and descended from the sky, ready to kill Jian Wushuang. Speaking of kendo, after Jian Wushuang became the master of the universe, especially after creating the 9 swords of the starry sky, he faintly became the co-master of the space-time kendo. Not to mention that the other party is a swordsman of the 7 tribulations realm. Even if it is the 8 tribulations realm, he will not take it seriously. The 9 short swords, before they could cover him, were shaken back by the power of Jiejia. You are also worthy of being called Venerable 9 Swords. Jian Wushuang sneered, his figure flashed, and he actually took the initiative to chase the 9 short swords. The speed was so fast that it exceeded the speed of the treasure of the universe. With one hand, he grabbed a short sword, shouted angrily, and directly crushed the short sword. The treasure of the universe of the 7 tribulations realm is like a gravel in his hands. You, Venerable 9 Swords panicked, did not know to retreat for a while, and watched Jian Wushuang destroy his 9 treasures of the universe. That is the 7 tribulations realm universe treasure suit. Just destroyed. Jian Wushuang wears the armor of robbery, with 2 million divine powers, combined with 5 times the power of beast gods, 3 million divine powers. The combat power has reached the threshold of the 8 tribulations realm. Destroying a cosmic treasure is easy. If it wasn't for destroying that treasure, he wouldn't even need to use the power of a beast to kill any 9 swords venerable. Just looking at the other party's kendo, the hips are too stretched, and the eyes are so hot. Without destroying that treasure, he can't get through it himself. You are the 8 tribulations realm. Venerable 9 Swords trembled, pointed at Jian Wushuang, and said angrily, You are in the 8 tribulations realm, interfering with the disputes between dynasties. Are you not afraid of the powerhouses of the immortal temple, chasing and killing you? In the world of the vault of heaven, there is a clear rule. Do not interfere in dynastic disputes. This is to ensure that one cannot dominate. One cannot dominate one side because of the existence of a powerhouse in the 8 tribulations realm, resulting in a monopoly of resources. After Jian Wushuang heard this rule, he quite admired this immortal temple. Such rules are really good. No matter how powerful a family is, it can't compare to the multitude of beings in the entire infinity world. The strong are the ones who struggled out of all living beings. It is difficult for the strong people cultivated by the family to be better than the blue. The existence of the immortal temple is because of this. If you want to accumulate more powerhouses, you need to control the balance of resources. Therefore, the ancestors of those dynasties and kingdoms are all half-steps and 8 tribulations. The powerhouse of the 8 tribulations realm, if defeated, ignores the secular world, but enters the temple of immortality. Where are all the powerhouses of the 8 tribulations realm gathered in the vault of heaven world? Usually, if you want to see the 8 tribulations realm, you need to enter the immortal temple. The immortal temple will also hold some preaching conferences on a regular basis. and invite some powerhouses from the half-step and eight-tribulation realm to give guidance. These are what Zhen Wuyang just told him through voice transmission. Hearing this, he was a little surprised. If the previous ones are for resource balance, he will also admit it. But after that, it's a bit outrageous. There are only so many resources, but you have to create so many eight tribulations realm? Why is this? If there is no common threat, it will not take so much trouble to promote the younger generation. In a perfect world of practitioners are relatively independent and selfish. For example, Guma continent. I am afraid that the Shenmu king is not like seeing any of the eight tribulation realm powerhouses surpassing him, or that a new eight tribulation realm appears in those kingdoms. After all, there are so many resources. If there is one more powerhouse in the eight tribulations realm, you have to give up your own share. Unless they despise their own treasures, who would despise their own resources? Isn't it better to take it out and train the younger generation? At least future generations listen to themselves and not threaten themselves. Can also maintain their position. Family, that's how it came. When Jian Wushuang was young, he also thought about building a family. But at the beginning, because teacher Xuani let him see the bigger world, he gave up. To build a family, you have to wait for your own strength to be strong enough. After you can't improve, you can build a family, stabilize your power, and plunder resources for your own cultivation. This is the greatest benefit of the family. Unexpectedly, in this world of the Vault of Heaven, you can still encounter such rules. The strong in the eight tribulations realm do not establish a family to blood, even constraining the family. It's a pity that they don't become gods in this situation. Zhenwuyang, the world of the Vault of Heaven, is there some hidden danger that needs to be suppressed by the eight tribulations realm? I don't know. I haven't heard of the Immortal Temple making a move to the outside world. So some newcomers to the eight tribulations realm are reluctant to join the Immortal Temple. Those who were suppressed will basically be released later. And they all chose to join the Immortal Temple after they were released. Jian Wushuang frowned, which made sense. Perhaps there is some kind of threat that needs to be suppressed by the eight tribulations realm. So the establishment of forces in the eight tribulations realm is prohibited. Zhen Wuyang's expression changed. He hesitated for a while and asked through voice transmission, Jian Wushuang, are you really in the eight tribulations realm? You can think so. His combat power is in the eight tribulations realm, but he has not yet crossed the tribulation. According to the rules of the Immortal Temple, may be forced to join the Immortal Temple after it has the combat power of the eight tribulations. He can't reach the realm, and the other party can't see it. After arriving at the Lord of the Universe, his origin is beyond the scope of the normal Lord of the Universe, and it is difficult for outsiders to see his realm. He will only judge his realm based on his combat power. I don't care if he is a robbery, just like the 9 swords venerable in front of him. So he didn't need to argue anything. This is all discovered by you, then go to die. Jian Wushuang smiled grimly, gathered divine power in both hands, and a dark red divine power instantly rose. With a single finger, he was ready to throw the army of Nanyun Kingdom, etc. A crisp shout made Jian Wushuang stop. Dan Bao still couldn't stand it any longer and stood up. If it was the war between the Jinwu dynasty and the Nanyun Kingdom, he might not care. But Jian Wushuang's shot, he had to come out to stop. Whoa! Jian Wushuang directly received the divine power, and he knew that Dan Bao would block it. The killing in the bones was also put down. After hearing about the existence of the Immortal Temple, he actually didn't plan to make another move, because it didn't make any sense. He can't take the Immortal Temple for the sake of Zhenwuyang. If he does not settle the Immortal Temple, even if he settles the Nanyun Kingdom, there will be more forces involved. As Dan Bao said, everything has a certain number. Irreversible. Seeing him stop, Dan Bao also breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay to spare your life, but you have to make an oath that you will not step into the Jinwu dynasty for half a step in the future. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. If the other party didn't agree, he wouldn't mind killing these 7 tribulation realms. Mainly still want to leave here with Zhen Wuyang. Chapter 59:33. He didn't want to go back when the time came, and he would be alone. You can stop our Nanyan kingdom, but you can't stop the immortal temple. Although Venerable Nine Swords was stubborn, he still made an oath. He did not believe that Jian Wushuang dared to fight against this rule against the immortal temple. Jian Wushuang was indeed not going to fight against the immortal temple. He just wanted to persuade Jin Wuyang to go with him. That would be tough until someone from the Temple of Immortality came to trouble him. After the army of the Nanyan Kingdom was sent away, the army of the Jinwu dynasty was naturally very excited and won without fighting. This is actually a win-win. For the weak. Let's go, it's your territory, and let me see how you've been doing all these years. Please. Zhen Wuyang waved his hand. A huge palace descended from the sky. Uncle Huang, you take the army and go to the south to support the father. I want to accompany the guests. No problem, just leave the rest to me. The Marquis Jinwu then said through a voice transmission. If any senior is really in the 8 tribulations realm. Uncle, don't worry, I'm measured. Zhen Wuyang knew what the other party was going to say. If Jian Wushuang is in the 8 tribulations realm, it will attract the Temple of Immortality. When the time comes, Jian Wushuang will cooperate, but if they don't cooperate, they will be involved. Seeing that the other party was clear about the interests, the Marquis Jinwu didn't say much. This time, thanks to Jian Wushuang's shot, the strong men of Nanyan Kingdom were shaken back. In this way, he took the army to support other battlefields, and he was able to breathe a sigh of relief with the Jinwu dynasty. Zhen Wuyang turned his head and glanced at the battlefield, and with his entourage guards, he also entered the palace. The palace is a flying cosmic treasure. Extremely fast. It only takes 1 day to reach the capital of the Jinwu dynasty. After entering the hall, Jian Wushuang greeted the two of them to sit down at will. After a while, Zhen Wuyang also walked in. Wushuang, thank you for this time. Jin Wuyang was polite, and even looked at Jian Wushuang with a little more respect in his eyes. This is respect for the strong. The combat power that Jian Wushuang showed had reached the threshold of the 8 tribulations realm. Even people who are familiar with him will have a little more respect. Of course, except for people like Wu Li. What's more, he and Zhen Wuyang have not seen each other for a long time. For Jian Wushuang, it was more than 10,000 years. But for Zhen Wuyang, it was countless epochs. The time and space here is different from the outside world, even different from God. More like 2 extremes. 1 day in the sky is almost an era in the outside world. But in the world of the Vault of Heaven, after an era, the outside world has only passed 1 day. Belong to the 2 extremes. You don't need to be so polite, it's just easy to solve it. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. This kind of thing is too simple for him. Zhen Wuyang brewed tea himself, poured it for the 3 of them, and said again. In fact, I have looked for you many times over the years, and I even thought you fell. Ashamed to say, I haven't looked for your traces in the outside world. I have been cultivating. Jian Wushuang shook his head and added. The flow of time in the outside world is much slower than here. In fact, we left the Qi Temple but 10,000 years. 10,000 years. Zhen Wuyang took a deep breath. He wasn't surprised by the speed of the flow of time. Instead, it shocked Jian Wushuang for 10,000 years. From an emperor, he was directly comparable to a powerhouse in the 8 tribulations realm. If you say it, no one will believe it. Wu Li has been following Jian Wushuang, and he has not yet felt that his strength has increased countless times within 10,000 years, and there is indeed no change. It is said that it is 10,000 years, but in fact it is only 100 years, and earth-shaking changes have taken place. Since they met Dan Bao, the speed of the 2 of them has increased faster than the other. Gula, who faced the frozen demon race just 1,000,000 powers. Let them feel unprecedented pressure. But now if you change your body, you can crush Gula at will. Even if they were allowed to think for themselves, they would not dare to think so much. Jian Wushuang looked at the other party's curiosity. And by the way, said what happened in the past 10,000 years. There is not much to hide, because there is nothing to hide. It can be said that everyone knows about Baby D, or the Wanlu universe. Zhen Wuyang was fascinated. He thought that the world he was in was big enough, But he didn't expect the outside world to be even more exciting than this place. For a time, there was really some yearning. Jian Wushuang also struck while the iron was hot. Actually, this is just the beginning. The vast world outside is our journey. And as for the Qi Temple, I have the ability to solve it. And when I'm done with things here, I will leave and return to the Qi Temple. Why don't we go back together or have a company? Go back. A light flashed in Zhen Wuiang's eyes. He slowly shook his head and said, Jian Wushuang, to be honest, I always felt that those things in the past were like a dream. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised by the opponent's insistence. Jinwu dynasty, is there anything you can't let go of? He thought of the current predicament of the Jinwu dynasty, because which Emperor Jinwu had reached his limit. In fact, this is also simple for him, and can help the other party to recover. At this moment, Zhen Wuiang stood up directly. They have resisted the capital of the Jinwu dynasty. Inside the main hall, can see the whole picture of the entire royal capital. In the center of the royal city, there is this statue of Jinwu the Great. Jian Wushuang was shocked when he saw the statue. No wonder Zhen Yang felt that everything in the past was a dream. The inheritance of Jinwu was probably from here. He pondered in his heart. The hall has slowly fallen to the ground. Come on, go to my house and see. After arriving in the capital, Zhen Wuiang's whole person seemed to have changed, and he was very friendly. It does not have the kind of imperial majesty that he had in Daciu. There is no sense of superiority. Instead, he was like an ordinary person with extraordinary temperament. Jian Wushuang saw these changes in his eyes. When they came outside the palace, there were no guards guarding them. When they got to the door, the unique door quietly opened. Before entering the mansion, Jian Wushuang heard the children's slaps. Zhen Wuiang heard these voices, turned his head and glanced at Jian Wushuang, and smiled lightly. It should be my grandchildren. Descendants? Right. Zhen Wuiang's time in the sky world has exceeded hundreds of millions of years. I am afraid that future generations do not know how many generations have been reproduced. But when he entered the mansion and saw those children, he was stunned. The power of the blood of those children is extremely strong. Almost all of them have the bloodline of 70% of Zhen Wuiang. If it is in the outside world, or in the original universe, this simply cannot be done. Seeing Jian Wushuang's surprised eyes, Zhen Wuiang explained, I was surprised at first, but I learned later that it is very difficult for the Lord of the Universe to have another child. But once there is a child, the power of blood will be even stronger. Powerful, just these little guys just born, they are immortals, which is what we thought of Yanxian. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.